understand, which is a stick, you don't seem that up to date.
That's, I mean, he right. You can't understand how a stick works. And you're surprised that Google, they just had to let you go. But are you really surprised?
With technology. I mentioned this issue to a friend who told me that young people do this to seem more personable. So I thought that I would give it a go. Hopefully, I seem more relatable now. The audio quality should still be good because, you know, it's not actually plugged in. I'm trying to seem relatable, not to have bad audio.
Right.
According to the FT, a lot of the tech layoffs are happening as companies are reshuffling their resources in order to invest in new areas such as generative AI.
You know what? I'm actually really curious if we didn't see a soft version of this in the late 2000s and like the mid 2010s when a lot of support desk jobs went to AI and like robotic menus. So like, for example, back in the day, you had, yeah, it's a good one, huh? And that's, I think that's actually my mic stand. No, it's not. It's almost my mic stand. And yeah, anyway, like you remember back in Warcraft where like if you had something deleted, you would have to message a GM and have the GM retain that thing for you or like restore it for you, I mean. Well, now you don't have to do that because a machine does that. I wonder what like the impact of that was on customer service. Because like if you had a machine that did, you know, 90% of most things that people ask for, then you don't need 90% of your employee base. So I wonder what happened with them. Yeah, I'm actually really curious about that because I bet that probably happened in like 2014, somewhere around there.
Well, showing there that there's a continued focus on cost discipline. They highlight Meta, which cut more than $20,000 in late 2022.
Well, that's because they stopped, they gave up on Metaverse, right? They didn't give up on it, but like they pretty much gave up on it.
Said in February that net headcount additions for the year will be minimal, even as they made significant investments in generative AI, which would involve securing talent.
Pirate Software mentions that CS was cut down by 60% after they automated item recover. And this is actually like such a great data point, I think, because a lot of people are looking at AI as if it's like some kind of new thing. But I think that in terms of machine automation that's replacing tech jobs, like that's insane. Like that's over half of the people. Holy fuck. That's crazy. AI is just automation. Yeah. And so like we talk about AI as if it's some kind of like unique evil. But this type of behavior where effectively you're automating functions that people used to do is very common. 60%.
The result has been a whiteout in tech jobs, and for the first time since the dot-com bubble burst, IT unemployment is actually higher than US unemployment overall. I'm sorry, I have to stop with...
Yeah, for real. I think that also another reason for that is that a lot of the people that were making these videos are young people. And there's only so many jobs that you need for like a social media marketing person. You only need, you know, 3 tech-savvy 24-year-old girls to run your social media presence. So when you have 50 new ones every single year, where are all these girls gonna go? What are they gonna do? Well, everybody has a social media person now, so like, well, fuck. Now it's oversaturated. Because you've got to keep in mind that like a lot of kids, like for example, a lot of young people, like let's say you graduate high school in 2015. Well, by the time that you get all the way through through college, it's 2020. So like you're in the job market now, and it was happening in 2015. So people probably saw that and they said, wow, Google's awesome. You can just go and take a nap at work all day and you can play ping pong. I want to go work at Google. So they get a career, or they get a degree that's going to get them a job at Google. And then by the time that happens, a million other fucking people probably thought the same exact thing. They're like, yeah, everybody else did this too. It's kind of like, how many of you guys have ever seen this happen in a video game where like a farming method for like an item or like a resource gets discovered, and then at the beginning you're making a lot of money with it, and then after other people get into the market, the profit margins like completely plummet. right? It gets nerfed. Well, it doesn't. The thing is, it doesn't get nerfed, right? It gets nerfed by supply and demand. Because the supply is just so high, there are so many of these things being pushed out onto the market that the price margins go longer, or go lower, right? PoE is a great example of this, and yeah, like market flooding, right? And so this happens even in video games. It happens as big as in economies. I actually think that, yeah, troll necklaces and hardcore WoW, perfect fucking example. Great example. I actually think that, I've said before, like, I learned more about economics and business in WoW than I did from going to college, right? And I really think that you can learn a lot of these different topics. You can learn them in, like, a very hands-on way. You know, like, you get to understand, like, why are monopolies bad? Let's find out why. Let's see what happens when you have a monopoly. Yeah, it's a simulation. It is. It's very interesting. I love it.
This microphone thing. I mean, it's
ridiculous.
I'll put a link to a mic stand in the video description to help out any of my younger viewers who aren't familiar with how that works.
Yeah.
The tech sell-off of 2022 led tech companies to evaluate their workforces and realize that they had a lot of dead wood. And if they had leaner organizations, they could be more profitable. And as they cut staff, their stock prices started to rise.
Big surprise.
According to the Washington Post, as stocks have risen, spirits in the San Francisco Bay Area, in the heart of the US tech industry, have only fallen further.
I bet.
The layoff announcements from
because it was a gravy train. Like, they were, bro, you can't expect to go to work and have catering for 2 meals a day. You work 40, like, I told my friend, like, so I have a friend, and, you know, like, we've known each other 20 years, right? And we originally became friends because we would fight over who knew more about Lord of the Rings. It was me, by the way. I did know more. But he has a job now in IT. And man, bro, like, he's making well over 100K. He's remote work. Like, so, like, remember that thing that happened with, what was that company where, like, all the servers went down? He woke up, like, he didn't have to call in till, like, 10. He woke up, he's like, hey, man, it's fixed now? All right, y'all still need, no? Okay, all right, cool. CrowdStrike, yeah, exactly. Like, this dude, like, he's talking about vacations to fucking Japan. He's talking about going to Chicago. He's talking about going to concerts. He's working 30 hours a week, maybe. He's making all this money. I was telling him, I was like, bro, like, you gotta watch out. Like, I don't know what's gonna, because is this really gonna last for very long? Like, is this really, like, yeah, you gotta worry about this, because, like, if you know, they're gonna be looking to try to get that money back. And so I would be worried. Is this rerun? No, I've said it before, I have. And it's the same thing. Yeah, he's making enough money for it, he is. But what I'm saying is that when you're in a job that has a very, like, there are very low demands in a job, you can pretty much assume that you're not gonna have that job for very long, because somebody's gonna figure that out. They're gonna see you, right? You're like that fucking homeless guy in McDonald's who's trying to not get noticed by the manager after he set up his 3 PC, fucking 3 monitor, 2 keyboard fucking setup in the McDonald's lobby, hoping that the fucking manager doesn't see him. You're that guy. Because you've got it made. You're getting free Wi-Fi, free drinks, free fries. You just walk over and eat somebody's food when they leave. You're getting everything.
Oh Lord.
Milton from Office Space, exactly. So yeah, when you don't have any
message and explosion. Oh, it's a small guy.
I knew that, you know, if we came to the office and we only worked for 3 hours a day, they're about to lay people off. Like, they're about to send people home. Like, that's it. That's just what's gonna happen, because, like, they don't need us. That's it. They're called bullshit jobs. Well, I mean, it expands and contracts over time.
Big tech companies all contain variations on the theme of we hired too many people during the boom years.
100%.
While things are tough in the tech sector, the BLS data shows that the ratio of job openings to job seekers is still quite good. there are 8.2 million job openings in the United States and only 7.1 million job seekers.
Yeah, the problem is the job openings are for like, you need somebody for Baskin Robbins. There's someone who needs to turn big rocks into little rocks on the side of the road in Arizona in July. Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of the job openings are in areas like education, healthcare, hospitality, transportation, and utilities, not tech.
Yep.
According to the press, a lot of
What
the
did I
tech
pick up?
layoffs have been in ESG areas, where the big tech firms have started abandoning their woke policies as part of their cost cutting.
What is this
Started abandoning their...
Laid off a team devoted to diversity, equity, and inclusion after pouring millions of dollars into the initiative. Who the fuck actually thought? You think Microsoft cared about minorities? How do you convince yourself? It's, of course not.
You look at squeezed when I go.
DEI doesn't work. Well, it doesn't create value for the company. Like it doesn't, like there's no one-to-one where like having DEI causes the company to make more money. Okay, well that's not happening. And also another reason is that a lot of investment firms have moved away from and are moving away from investing because of DEI. So in the past, where this would earn you investment capital, that's less true now. So there's no reason to do it because they never really cared.
Their woke policies as part of their cost cutting. The New York Post reported that Microsoft laid off a team devoted to diversity, equity, and inclusion after spending millions of dollars on the initiative. One of the signs of the overhiring may have been the woman that they hired away from the land registry who would read out their property title before a meeting.
First, we want to acknowledge that the land where the Microsoft campus is situated was traditionally occupied by the Sammamish, the Duwamish, the Snoqualmie, the Suquamish, the Muckleshoot, the Snohomish, the Tulalip, and other Coast Salish peoples since time immemorial.
Maybe I should look up who owned...
Yeah, big surprise they got rid of that. Because it creates no value, nobody actually cares about it, and it doesn't matter. It's amazing that we went through such a collective cultural delusion into acting like that kind of stuff mattered for as long as it did. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it happened. Yeah, we still got that woke shit in Canada. It's annoying as fuck. Yeah, I know. It's amazing that it lasted as long as it did. But yeah, of course people aren't going to be okay with that. It's retarded.
This office before me and say something nice about them at the start of the
Yeah, of course.
I don't know how people do this stuff. Anyhow, last year, Alphabet and Meta, or Google and Facebook,
My controller
reduced the scope of their DEI program.
is walking.
Staff. Zoom, Snap, Tesla, DoorDash, Lyft, and Wayfair have also downsized their DEI teams.
Because it doesn't create value. Pushing a cultural agenda will not make your company more money. And the company is more than willing to do this in the cases where everybody's making money and everything is doing fine and you're growing 20% year over year and everybody's happy. But the problem is that whenever you're not, those people are the first ones to go.
Most reports that DEI
Because they create no
job
value.
postings have declined by 44% by mid-2023.
That's a good
compared
start.
to the same period in 2022.
Yep.
Despite these layoffs, Microsoft told the Post that their diversity and inclusion commitments remain unchanged.
Of course. Like, I mean, they're not gonna, and this is the thing, they're not gonna say, well, we don't like women anymore. We're pro-slavery now. Of course they're not gonna say that. They don't care. They never cared in the first place. Their job is not to care.
Somerset Webb wrote in Bloomberg earlier this year that ESG and DEI policies had turned out to be low interest rate environment luxury goods.
Based and true.
She highlights the pullback
Absolutely.
of these policies across both the public and corporate sectors. In the UK, the Financial Reporting Council just opted against including ESG requirements in the UK Corporate Governance Code.
Yeah, of course.
And BlackRock CEO Larry
Where do I have to go?
once a champion of ESG, rarely mentions it anymore.
See, this is one topic that people might not realize. Is like everybody has that clip of like Larry saying like, oh, we have to force behaviors, but he's had to walk that back a lot. Like, yeah, apparently this is like, that sounds great, but then they started actually losing money. And the thing is, like,
no,
he's in charge because he's making money. So if you're losing money, why are you here?
Mentions of DEI and ESG.
Is this one of these dungeons?
Have plummeted too, since interest rates started to rise, as has their prominence.
It's one of those
in
fake dungeons.
presentations. A recent paper from the University of Copenhagen suggests that even
the
amongst
messages are all the same. It can't be.
ESG investing is a luxury good, where demand for it increases disproportionately with the scale of inherited wealth. Tech, just like finance, can be a boom and bust industry, where workers are paid well, but there is a lot of career volatility. People who have been in either industry for a full market cycle are usually aware of this and know to save their money when the times are good.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of a story a friend told me of hiring.
Yeah, my mom, growing up, she was a freelance writer, and it was always like, and she was not, my mom was not a money saver. She was I got a new job, it's time to get a new computer. I got a new job, it's time to order pizza. I got this is what it was, right? And so it would be feast and famine, right? There would be some times that she would just have all this fucking, yeah, you want an Xbox? Oh, yeah, sure, why not, right? It's not a big deal. And then the other times it's like, no, we can't afford to get a Coke at McDonald's. No, that's $1.
That's
we
how.
need that $1. Oh, jeez.
At an investment bank back in the late 1990s.
Yeah.
He said that it was so hard to hire at the time that he found himself making offers to the type of candidate that he would have never considered in prior years, as he just needed to fill.
This is so difficult
During
with
the
the
slowdown
broken
of
controller.
the early 2000s, he then let all of those people go. During the U.S. tech sector's last high-growth phase from 1990.
Yeah, it's like if you have a bullshit job that doesn't
Holy
create any
shit,
value,
man.
you shouldn't expect to stay at the company for very long. Like, I'm sorry, but like, if you're going to work and you're not really doing anything and you're not creating value, they're gonna get rid of you. It's gonna happen. It might not happen tomorrow, but it will happen eventually because somebody will find out.
Why do I
and they'll
think they're
fix the
lying?
glitch, and they'll stop paying you, and you're gone. Unless it's government work. No, even at the government that happens. Sometimes. It depends.
National employment in the tech industry
yeah.
shot up by 36% over the period, according to Federal Reserve data. Average weekly wages for tech workers doubled, rising by 102% over the decade.
Jesus.
At its peak in 2000, tech employment accounted for just over 4% of total private employment.
That's like nothing.
When the dot-com bubble burst, technology sector employment declined rapidly, with significant net job losses for 4 straight years. By the time it bottomed out in 2004, the sector's workforce had shrunk by almost 18%, and tech employment declined to 3.4% of total private employment. From 2010 through to 2022, job growth in the tech sector once again hugely outpaced job growth in the rest of the economy, and most tech workers under the age of 35 have never seen a slowdown. The FT reported earlier.
Yeah, that's why they got into it. Is because, like, again, like for me, I know even whenever I was graduating, right? Like I graduated in 2008, and so for me, a lot of my friends like all wanted to go into like tech work, IT work, anything that was like computer based, right? And like I think that there's definitely a confirmation bias here because I was into computer class, I was into tech class, big surprise, right? But yeah, everybody that I knew wanted to do this too.
that the tech layoffs in 2024 appear to be more strategic as job cuts in 2024 have come alongside active hiring. Meta, which cut more than 20,000 jobs since late 2020.
I'm so confused.
Jesus, man. Man, that... Oh, bro, like... His camouflage is off.
Like, did I beat the dungeon?
22 said in February that net headcount additions for the year would be minimal, even as it's made significant investments in generative AI, which would include securing talent. SAP announced a company-wide transformation in January that involves 8,000 layoffs as they increase their focus on AI. They said that their staff numbers would stay about the same, but that they would be reskilling. This reskilling process is extremely painful for tech workers, as it usually involves being laid off and requalifying. I saw a link.
That sucks, Dick. Like, I can only imagine how bad that is. That's so fucking shitty.
In post earlier this week on how there are both too few and too many software engineers right now because of a huge skills mismatch in the software development industry. The author wrote that there had been a huge boom of people coming into software development and training as web developers, but companies now want to hire people with skills in AI, machine learning, data analysis, and things like that. The writer argued that big tech needs to hire the best people and then train them as necessary, as it might be too disruptive turning over your workforce constantly. While layoffs are happening at these high-profile tech firms, they aren't happening in every department. According to Robert,
yeah, it probably happens with some people, some that it doesn't. They don't want to train anymore. I mean, y'all had times, like another WoW analogy is like, there have been many times where we had somebody re-roll rather than recruiting somebody that was like a monk or somebody that was a warlock or something, right? It's better to have somebody that you know that's good that will re-roll and play with this other class rather than like just bringing in an entire new person. So yeah, of course it's true. Training people sucks. Yeah, sometimes it's a good idea, sometimes it's not.
So
what do you need? Yeah, exactly.
Firm, a sizable portion of the layoffs at big
which I'll cut the ladder first.
Wow, now I did.
Professionals, but those in other departments. 365 Data Science looked into which roles were most affected by these layoffs and found that HR specialists and recruiters made up almost 28% of the layoffs.
Who the fuck needs an HR specialist? Like, this is the problem, is like people like that, I think that they think that they're very necessary. But when you look at the amount of money the company makes and you look at where the money comes from, you realize that that's not really actually true.
Also found that this group was finding replacement jobs most quickly. This makes a lot of sense, as these people are not really tied to the tech industry. They can work at any big firm. The researchers found that 19% of the laid-off tech workers who found new jobs had moved to smaller software development firms, and 13%
I need to roll a cigarette.
Companies. They found that the majority of rehired workers continued
this
their
dungeon
careers
fucks me over.
outside of tech. Among them, 10% moved to financial services, 8% moved to the services industry, 7% to consulting, 6% to manufacturing, and 34% to other industries.
Damn.
Because the majority of tech jobs are outside of the tech industry,
well, the controller
and tech
decided.
skills are still in high demand in other industries. Many of these people are doing just fine, but possibly struggling a bit with the culture clash of no longer getting to play ping pong and eat free berries in the office.
Who the like? It's amazing to me. Who thought this was gonna last? Of course this wasn't going to last. Duh.
Unfortunately, the researchers found that the majority of laid-off tech workers are still on the job market, competing for the type of roles they'd recently been laid off from during hiring freezes and continuing layoffs. These people are mostly highly qualified with a lot of work experience, and we'll have to see how long they remain on the job market or if they switch careers. A study from the Brookings Institute found that tech sector jobs have started spreading out around the country since the pandemic. San Francisco and San Jose disappeared from the list of metro areas gaining the highest shares of digital employment. Replacing them have been metro areas like Dallas, Denver, Miami, and Salt Lake City.
Because it's fucking expensive to be in San Francisco, and apparently it's a PvP server. I look over there, bro, I feel like I'm watching The Walking Dead. Holy shit! Who the fuck would want to be there? Yeah, it's... no way! And it's expensive? You've got to pay extra to deal with zombies? What the fuck? No! That's awful! It's a terrible idea!
A report on pay trends from ZipRecruiter found that 48% of 2,000 US companies surveyed lowered pay for certain roles last year, and 41% of employers said that a position has gone unfilled in the past 6 months because candidates wanted more pay than the company was able to offer.
Too bad.
According to the report, companies are not just taking advantage during a difficult job market to cut costs. In some cases, stagnant and even lowered salaries are the result of a reset for a pandemic-era surge in compensation,
We're gonna buy what
where
these
companies were scrambling to fill roles during the Great Resignation. This phenomenon of falling wages is being seen mostly in the United States because of how its economy rebounded from the pandemic. During the rebound, wage growth in the United States outpaced that of the UK and Europe. And now that it's resetting, the pinch is being felt most in the United States.
Of course, right? Because like another thing that's going to happen during a pandemic is that you're obviously going to try or hire a lot of people. But if you're running a company, you're also going to be thinking to yourself, how can I make it to where I don't have to hire a lot of people? How can I make it to where I can just have this happen and complete this task without having somebody that I need to pay them to do it? Like, of course that's what's going to happen. Absolutely.
The perks of working at a hot tech firm during the boom period was getting a chunk of your compensation in the form of stock options, which a lot of high-growth tech companies like to think of as being free, rather than as a deferred expense that's eventually paid for when the options vest. We see this cost today in the massive stock buybacks, which have to happen at firms like Salesforce to keep their share count from rising and earnings per share from falling. Bloomberg reported in May that insiders at Magnificent Seven tech companies have been selling their shares after going 9 years without any significant sales. Senior management may be less bullish than the general public are. The Magnificent Seven tech stocks have risen nearly 150%
That's not good.
since the start of 2023, partially because of excitement over artificial intelligence. Jeff Bezos netted about $8.5 billion selling Amazon stock over a 2-week period in February. This is his first sale of Amazon stock since 2021. Mark Zuckerberg sold $1 billion worth of Meta stock last November. Sundar Pichai of Alphabet sold more stock in the first few months of this year than in all of 2023. NVIDIA director Mark Perry sold more stock at the start of this year than in the previous 2 years combined. And Apple chairman Arthur Levinson filed in February to sell his biggest block of stock in more than 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, having senior people hedging their bets like that definitely doesn't necessarily look very good, you know? Yeah, that doesn't look good at all.
This isn't just happening at the companies that are doing well.
They know something.
Tesla's chair, Robin Denholm, filed to sell about $52 million worth of stock this year, her first sale since 2022. Some of the luster has come off of big tech in recent weeks, with the Nasdaq more than 11% off its high from 8 weeks ago. The downturn followed underwhelming outlooks from the biggest tech companies, along with a bad jobs market. Intel lost more than a quarter of its value this Friday after announcing plans to slash
I like this dungeon a lot.
spending as it suffered further setbacks.
Holy shit.
Well, it's because Nvidia is doing all this AI shit and people are putting a bunch of money into Nvidia because nobody knows where it's going to go or what it's going to do.
The sword of light and shadow and whatever.
No, that's literally what it said in the article. Has been unsuccessful in efforts to cash in on booming demand for artificial intelligence chips. That's literally what it said.
Its price is below what it traded in 1997. Other semiconductor stocks like ASML and Tokyo Electron fell too.
Intel is also
Microsoft's AI-fueled cloud growth fell short of investor expectations earlier this week, and the stock is down about 11% over the last month, but it's still up about 10% year to date. The scale of capex by the big US tech companies, based on a belief that AI will transform the world, amounts to the biggest and fastest infrastructure rollout in history.
Yeah, that's what everybody's trying to do. Like, because you see all these companies, like you see Twitter, like every single one of these companies is trying to, they're trying to make their own AI. It's like everybody wants to put their flag on the moon first. And that's the real reason, right? That's why like Microsoft is like buying companies like shit like that, OpenAI, like it's the end game. Yeah, because like they think this is going to be really big, so they want to be the ones to capitalize on it, which makes sense. Spot on. Yeah, that's clearly what's happening.
Big tech.
That's why they're investing so hard into it.
$500 billion over the next 2 years, much of it on data centers powered by NVIDIA GPUs. From a financial perspective, we have to ask who will benefit from this spending and when will the returns on investment start rolling in.
Yeah.
Researchers from MIT argued in a recent report
was there ever an item
that
up here?
technology isn't designed to solve the complex problems that would justify the costs, which may not decline as many expect. The Economist wrote last year about how the big tech firms were no longer showing up at campus recruiting events at top US colleges like Berkeley. Students who
probably because they also don't need to, right? If you're trying to cut costs, why would you go to somewhere like Berkeley? Everybody knows that Google is there. Everybody knows Facebook is there. Like, yeah, there's no reason.
Hoping for internships at FANG companies, we're now talking to firms like Juniper Networks, an ancient company that had been founded all the way back in 1996. They report that some computer science majors have had their internships cancelled, and those with job offers have had their start dates pushed back. Apparently, students are now seeking stable employment rather than big brand names on their CVs.
Yeah, I wonder fucking why. Yeah, it makes sense.
Started. One student told The Economist that she had realized that she hadn't actually wanted to work in big tech before the layoff, and was relieved she didn't get sucked into it. She hopes to work as a product designer at a small company where she can get solid experience rather than just chasing a big name. Stanford professor Jeff Spicer wrote in the Stanford report that he's concerned that the tech layoffs could spread across other industries.
Well, of course they are. It's going to happen everywhere. Obviously. This is 100% what's going to happen everywhere. Why would they hire somebody if they could have a machine do the job? That's the reason why. Like, that's why, like, apparently, like, web design and graphic design is getting completely gutted. It's because why do we need to pay somebody to...
We need a talisman to reduce the time spent on healing.
And creates a product that's basically the same thing. Like, why would you want to do that?
Ooh.
Yeah, like Detroit stuff. Yeah, and this happened, right? Because, like, we used to have a lot of car manufacturing. That stopped. And now it's a totally different topic, right? It's a totally different thing. And so, yeah, this is 100% going to happen. And, like, of course this is going to happen with, like, every other industry as well. It's like, for example... I know that a lot of drive-thrus do this. They have AI that takes your order for you. And so, or like they have like assistants with AI. Like, I don't know if it's like 100% in a lot of cases, but a lot of them is like a bit of it. And so, yeah, thank God, right? Yeah, exactly, right? Because the AI is better than the person in a lot of cases. It's like, I feel like at Taco Bell, the way they decide who takes the orders is they have each one of them speak English for 5 minutes, and whoever does the worst job, that's the person they put on the mic. I don't understand. So fucking annoying. I have to explain shit to people like that. Oh my god.
He
But
wrote
yeah,
that layoffs
exactly.
are contagious across industries and within industries. So why did the big tech firms move so aggressively to cut staff?
Yeah.
Well, a big part of it was just because they had simply overhired. Are layoffs the best move in a challenging business
What did they mean by
environment, or is
map
there
ahead
something else they could
after
have done?
dungeon?
Well, they could have announced goals to increase margins, for example, to shore up the stock price, but then they'd be held accountable to achieving those goals. When they announce layoffs...
I think they're getting rid of people because they don't know who they're going to have to get rid of. I feel like with AI and the innovations in it, probably in the last like 5 years, it's probably cut out jobs that a lot of people didn't predict or didn't expect to have cut out or removed. And because of that, they're not going to overhire because they don't know what's going to be completely invalidated
Did I miss
in
something?
like a year or 2 years. I think that's what's happening, right? Time to trim the fat? Exactly, yeah.
And the clearing out of
Did I miss something?
They get to do that and then move on, having shown that they're serious about margins and cost. For management, it's an easy fix. So if, as The Economist says, big tech no longer wants you, where can you go? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the majority of tech jobs in the United States are not at the big tech firms.
Well, they're not going to go. Here's the reality, is that a lot of those jobs are not going to come back. The same as like there's not going to ever be a job again to turn a bolt to put a fender on a car. Like that's not coming back. It's not going to happen again. There's a million jobs, like human beings used to be calculators, right? There used to be computers. Now we don't have that because we have computers and calculators. There's just a lot of these jobs that are just not going to happen. They're not going to come back. There's not going to be like a, oh, well, eventually people are going to want it. Yeah, of course you're going to have like little, you know, niches here and there. But for the most part, this is effectively gone. Lamppost lighters, yeah. There are people like, think about whenever people had like horse-pulled carriages. How many different jobs there were that were associated with that. How many people needed to be blacksmiths to make horseshoes, to put the horseshoes on, to pick up the dead horses from the street, to clean up the shit from the horses. All of these things, you don't have them anymore. And if you do, they're like a fraction of what they were. Like before it was 100%, now it's 2%. So I think that's what happens a lot. That sucks. I miss seeing minimal skill jobs. I miss seeing minimal skill jobs. I think that you'll still have minimal skill jobs, but it will have to be very physically involved. Like you'll have a minimal skill job of like moving things around, right? And that's hard to kind of have a robot do right now. So yeah, like cleaning, yeah, exactly. Like being a janitor is a minimal skill job, but I don't really see a robot being able to take that over in the next like 10 years. I could be wrong.
Other sectors who hire tech workers may now be able to hire some top talent that previously they couldn't. Some of the recently laid off tech workers might opt to start their own companies too and bring new products and ideas to the market. Most of today's tech giants grew out of the ashes of the dot-com bust. If you found this video interesting, you should watch my video on what's happening with electric vehicle sales next. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, Brilliant.org, using the link in the description. Have a great day, and see you in the next video. Bye.
This guy's really good. I've watched his videos before. He actually used to work in finance. He's not like some random bullshit guy that's like just doing YouTube stuff. I'll link you guys his channel. He's really good. Obviously, you know, he has a lot of information. He knows a lot about this. And he's also funny. I like him a lot. Yeah, W video. Absolutely. It's a good way of explaining. Yeah, he does. And you're going to start looking for Matrix and Second Resistance? No, this is what's going to happen. Is that a lot of these companies are obviously going to get rid of these people. Because, like, again, you, like, if you made a job and you thought it was normal for you to work, actually, like, really put in work, like 30 hours a week, you know, 20 hours a week and get paid $200,000 a year, unless you have some fucking, like, ancient knowledge that nobody else understands, everybody knew this wasn't going to last. If you thought this was going to last, you were naive. Like, there's no way it was going to
Did I upgrade the cannon?
Yeah, 100%. So, you watch the new Space Marine 2 videos, it's too long. As people are just a liability to the company. They are a liability. It's like, you know, those girls that were like doing the dancing thing, like, you know, like millennial core or something like that. Like, I wonder what the executives and the actual, like, you know, chief engineers see that, and they're like, who are we gonna get rid of? I don't know. You know, Gen Z streamer in a mini. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't have the ink.
It's not gonna last for very long. What occupies the space of low-educated jobs? Universal basic income? That or slavery. You know, slavery could be another option. Obviously, we've tried this in the past. I think that, like, you know, we could opt for a softer version of slavery. Something where it's like, you're not really a slave, but they do own everything about you and they control where you live and everything. So, like, you're kind of a slave, but you're not. Like, I think it's more like feudalism, right? So you're going to work in service of somebody who has a means of production, and then that person will then allow you to live for different ways. This, you know, we had like kind of a soft version of this, very, very soft version of this with Henry Ford, right? Where he built houses and housing divisions of people to live there. I think this is a very interesting idea, and I think obviously we'll probably see a lot more of that happening. It's serfdom. Yeah, it is. It's serfdom. And that's probably what I think is going to happen. So yeah, totally sounds like minimum wage. Yeah, but like it will be more all-encompassing than minimum wage, right? So you're gonna see that happen a lot. The military still does it, yeah. And I feel like, you know, indentured servitude, serfdom, you know, like soft slavery, we could see this making a really, really big comeback, right? Because it fell off for a while because nobody wanted to do it anymore. But when you've got a bunch of people and they're not doing anything, there's only really two things to do. You either have to kill all of them, or, well, you can pay half of them to kill the other half. I think that could work, right? We could see something like that happen. It seems like it might happen, right? With like the Israel-Palestine, there's like bombs, and maybe we have that happen, right? Civil War II. Everybody loves a good sequel. And so, yeah, I don't want to go back. Yeah, well, that's what it could be. The Hunger Games, yep, slavery is too expensive. I know, and that's why it's soft slavery, because like you don't want to own the person because then that's a lot of work, right? So then you just basically have them responsible for themselves, etc. History repeating itself? Yeah, it is. And I think that's really where things are going to go. Now, the reason why it's going to go that way is because nobody understands that the problem with like average citizens is that they're so stupid that they can never see the outcome of anything outside of what they're currently looking at. So they don't understand precedent. They don't understand what type of like behavior this could promote. They don't understand how, oh, well, if we do this now, it's going to have a negative effect then. So what happens now is we see this is what's, and I'll show you an example right now. We are all celebrating all these people losing their jobs because their jobs were bullshit. They're losing bullshit jobs in tech industries, right? Oh, wow, all these DEI
I think I should fight Placidus
W, right? Yeah, big W, but where are they going to go? Right? So, like, we celebrate the exact same thing. The exact thing happens. And this is the best way to do it, right? Is you have people pitted against each other based off of social issues, and then they never actually look and see who's actually taking advantage of them. So, yeah, they took our jobs. Exactly. And genocide, yeah. And so what they have to do, didn't know that? Yeah, I think that's how it's happening. So you have tech workers, and this happened before, right? Tech workers that were saying, just learn to code. Remember that? The dismissive learn to code when a person loses their job to some form of automation. Oh, go learn the code. Well, now the coding is becoming automated. Now those tech jobs are becoming less relevant, and they're being paid less. Now it's learn how to weld. Now it's learn how to be a plumber. Do you think they're not going to be able to figure that out too? It will take a lot longer, I think, but it will happen. So learn how to beg. Yeah, exactly. Learn how to be an influencer and get money on social media from people that are lonely and think you're their friend in real life. You know, that's what you need to do. Yeah, guys, like, let's be honest. That's the real solution. Not true. Lots of people in here are not programmers. Well, what I'm saying is that because class consciousness and class warfare is so popular in the United States, the elite can always rely on the poor people and the middle class people to hate. Like, the poor people hate the rich people, or sorry, middle class people more than they hate the rich people. And the middle class people want to be the rich people And that's why they hate the poor people, because they don't want to be where that person is at. So all they have to do, and by the way, this will never change. This will never get better, because most people are so stupid they can just be taken advantage of like animals. So this is not going to ever change. So it's just going to keep getting worse, and you're just going to see people's human rights be removed. You're going to continue to see people like losing autonomy. This is just the way it is. And you can't stop it because it's fundamental to the human condition. That's it, and they're happy with it. Yeah, and they'll celebrate when it happens to somebody else. They'll cry when it happens to them, and they'll never realize the connection between the two things. They never will. I understand that you think, oh, well, they'll figure it out. No, they won't. They never will. It's sad, but there it is. That's what I think. Greed, power, temptation. Yeah, exactly. Let's make facts. The problem is I'm doing all the work in the same EU for someone that's making 200K a year. Well, I don't know. Just 1 second. Do you hate humans, or are you just realistic? Both. I'll be right back.
Hey folks, this is Chill Force, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Rich from Review Tech USA. Tomorrow, June the King will be releasing a documentary that will catch us all up with the life and happenings of Review Tech USA, and the whole internet is excited. Everybody's stoked, can't wait to see it. But why does anybody care? For those who've been on the internet long enough, you've seen a Review Tech USA video. Skibbity-bop-bop-bop. Right? Everyone's kind of familiar with that little sound effect that he starts his videos off with. He used to do a lot of good content. He would do these gamer news or tech news. He would have a little bit of gameplay in the background. It was entertaining. He did decent short form videos. But at some point he fell off and we just stopped seeing him. More recently, at least for me, I started consuming Kino Casino. And they've been covering the kind of slow, dramatic decline that Rich has experienced. Now he only streams. He doesn't really produce videos. He fancies himself a music producer. And he sits around just high off his ass watching DSP and laughing every once in a while and hitting the soundboard. He's probably the most boring streamer on the internet. But we're going to cover him, and I wanted to talk about him a little bit today. You won't see any clips of Rich in this video because he has used the copyright system in the past in order to take down small channels, and he certainly could take mine down. So I'm not going to bother with clips. Speaking of targeting smaller creators, Rich once targeted one of his detractors. He reached out to I guess you'd call them a doxing group, maybe a hacker group called Shadow's Government, in order to dox someone who had a YouTube channel critical of him. This is one of the things that's going to be covered on the
What is that buff he gives me?
So you can already see here on Twitter that Rich has reacted. He says, June the King, this is public, so I can post this here. I never doxed anyone. I've talked about the situation publicly before. Granted, it's over a decade old, but it is what it is. Guess I'll be explaining it again. Lol. Other than that, I see nothing in the outline.
I'm almost
that
dead.
Makes me raise an eyebrow. Looking forward to the video. What a code. It is absolute code. And June the King responded. In this order is Review Tech USA thanking Shadow's Government for obtaining the docs. Post is still up. Hosting the docs, deleted post, and tried to explain why doxing is legal. But he took it down and people got upset. Well, I wonder why people would get upset about a very public doxing by a prominent YouTuber. And this is the post itself. I would like to thank Anonymous, iPredator, and Shadow's government for helping me proactively identify and locate, this has been omitted, aka Review Hell USA. Excellent work, and I can't express my gratitude enough. Now let's do more important things like keeping the web safe and getting rid of online sexual predators. Keeping the web safe from doxers. This is the tweet that has been deleted. Review Tech.
Did I fuck up my chance to go up the ladder?
Providing the docs information on his Twitter so that if anyone wanted to, they could go and target the guy.
No, I didn't.
Someone sent me a possible dox of the psycho that has been relentless on me. I didn't ask for it. I would like to thank. I mean, excellent work, and I can't express my gratitude enough. I didn't ask for it, and I strongly question its legitimacy. What a joke. And here's his defense. Rather than say, I know that it's wrong to dox, and I've done the wrong thing, I apologize. Instead, posts an article that says doxing. It's like hacking, but legal. While it might technically be legal, I'm not 100% on that part. It's a pretty scummy thing to do. It's pretty, at least, unethical, right?
Who are you, man?
Der Pflegewegweiser unterstützt sich finanziell bei der Pflege von deinen Angehörigen daheim.
So, as you guys know, I spent almost 10 hours the other night on stream making a balanced feedback doc that got to the top page of Reddit. And the CEO actually confirmed that they did, in fact, see this document. So I wanted to post a summary on it because some of you guys were asking me to. You don't want to go watch the whole 10-hour stream on why so many guns in the game honestly just feel bad to use. And that I think almost all of the guns in the game need buffed, like almost across the board,
really?
With like very few exceptions.
There's nothing up
and
here?
Some of you might be asking, wouldn't buffing all the guns just make the game easier? And the answer to that is yes, a little bit, absolutely. You know, buffing all the guns probably would make the game a little bit easier. But I also don't think that the game's difficulty really is tied to the guns. You know, this game mainly is a knowledge check. And let me give you an example. So the other night I was streaming, making a primary weapons tier list, as us YouTubers do, and I was using every primary weapon in the game against the automatons, one after another. And my simplest way to rate these guns is when I am just running around and I come across a POI and I see a group of enemies and my primary weapon's in my hand. And I just all of a sudden think to myself, you know, I look at my primary weapon and I'm like, I really don't want to shoot this primary weapon at these enemies. The second I get that thought, I know that I'm not putting this gun anywhere above the B tier. And to be honest, it's not even going above C tier. It's only going to make it into B tier if it has some utility. Kind of like the crossbow. The crossbow has pretty poor reload speed, fire rate, all of that. It is pretty satisfying to get headshots against bots with, but it can also close fabricators, and it can kill scout striders in the leg in 3 or 4 shots. I can't exactly remember right this second. So even though the crossbow feels like a C tier weapon to shoot, I'll stick it into B tier because there is some extra utility with it. And at the same time, when I'm testing
that was all for nothing.
Like the Liberator and the Liberator Penetrator, which Liberator I stuck into C tier, Liberator Penetrator I stuck into D tier. It's not like we lost any of those missions or we lost any of those games. You know, I had my autocannon on my back. I was using great stratagems like the Eagle Airstrike and 120 barrages to help me when I needed it. The games where I was using bad primary weapons didn't just become more difficult, and I was never really in danger of losing, at least I don't think. It's just that there's many guns in the game that flat out don't feel good to use, but there are reliable weapons like the autocannon, and there are some good primary weapons as well, like the Plasma Punisher. And when I'm using these guns, it's not like the game is necessarily any easier. It's just that when I walk into a group of enemies, I actually want to shoot a gun like the Plasma Punisher at them. So that's where the Helldivers 2 Balance Manifesto comes in. This Google document that I made is all about breakpoints. Now, you probably wouldn't be surprised to learn that every single gun in the game, or at least most of them, is falling short of key breakpoints. Even guns that they had previously buffed. Even support weapons like anti-tank launchers and the spear don't reach critical breakpoints that also make them feel bad to use in many situations. Now this leads to making fighting heavier enemies feel bad, which actually led them to nerfing the spawn rates of heavy enemies in the same patch that they introduced behemoth chargers, because the community was complaining about the heavy spawns. And when they introduced the charger behemoth itself, that hurt the breakpoints of anti-tank weapons even further, which is what led to the flamethrower meta. And this is the real problem. The guns in this game are designed to not meet the breakpoints of the many enemies they are meant to counter. So what does that mean? What is a breakpoint? Well, let's just look at an enemy like the Devastator. Their weak point is obviously their head, and these heads have 125 HP. So let's just look at your starter weapon, the Liberator, which has 60 damage. 2 shots from the Liberator deal 120 damage. What that means is you actually need to fire 3 shots into the head of the Devastator, even though you only need 5 more damage. You get the picture here? The Liberator is quite literally 5 damage short of a key breakpoint. And because the Devastator's head is kind of small, because, you know, the shielded ones partially block their face a little bit sometimes, and also because the bots constantly aim punch you, landing 3 headshots not only takes some pretty good accuracy, but I just think it's pretty apparent that they have balanced that this gun in particular to be barely short of killing the Devastator. And what I've learned when doing the math for every other gun in the game against multiple enemies, I want to say I've tested every enemy against some of these guns, and a lot of them against the other guns in the game, is that every single gun is just barely shy of doing enough damage to kill things. Now there's a few other things to take into account with the damage formulas, like damage drop-off for example. Let's say we buff the Liberator by just that 5 damage we need to kill the Devastator. 2 shots would deal 130 damage, and that's enough to kill him. But there is damage drop-off in this game. The moment the bullet leaves the barrel of your gun, it starts losing damage. So it would only be able to kill the Devastator from like medium to close range. And since automatons are more long-range enemies, we would honestly want the Liberator to go up to 70 damage. That way you can 2-shot them from longer range. And fall-off damage is another thing in this game that messes with breakpoints. For example, the Hunters on higher difficulty have 175 health, but since the Liberator does 60 damage, 3 shots from a Liberator would only deal 180 damage. Except that, in this case, since it's 3 shots, and even if you're in just medium range from a Hunter, there's a good chance that you might have to be a little bit closer to make sure those 3 shots shoot it to the body. So this is one gun and 2 examples where the breakpoints are suffering, honestly. All of the enemy H pools are very intricately balanced so that the guns just don't meet these breakpoints. And one other thing I would like to point out about Hunters is all of their legs and their 2 front claws are 60 health. And guess what? Guess what that means? The Liberator does 60 damage, but the moment the bullet leaves the barrel, it loses essentially a damage. So if you accidentally are a little bit inaccurate, you put 1 bullet into the leg, you won't even shoot off the leg of the Hunter with the Liberator. It takes 2 shots from a Liberator to shoot the leg off of a Hunter. Now, one other thing I want to show you guys is the Brood Commander head. Now, a Brood Commander head has 200 health, it is 60% durable, and it is light armor. So what's durable damage? Well, each gun has a hidden durable damage stat. In this case, the Liberator has 60 damage base, but 14 durable
there was
damage.
nothing
So
back
what
there?
would we do to figure out how many shots it takes to kill a Brood Commander? What we do is take the durable damage and multiply that by 0.6, and then we take the normal damage and multiply that by 0.4, which is the remainder from 60 to 100%. And we get these 2 numbers, which Then we add together to get 32.4. Now there's actually also a 50% armor matching penalty in this game. So when you're getting red hit markers, that means that you're shooting more armor than the enemy has. When you're getting white hit markers, that means you're matching the armor and you're doing half the damage. And if you get the bouncing hit marker, that means you don't have enough armor, so you're dealing no damage. So we cut 32.4 in half. After we cut that in half, we take 200 health from the Brood Commander and we divide it by the true damage of the Liberator, which again is the normal damage combined with the durable damage percentages. And this means the Liberator can kill a Brood Commander in 12.3 shots, which basically just means it's gonna take 13 shots. Now that example is way more convoluted, but I just wanted to teach you guys the basics of damage in this game. There's breakpoints, drop-off damage, durable damage, as well as the armor penalty. Now, if we're being real, the Liberator is not the best option of a primary weapon either. However, like I said, what I learned from making this document is that every time I plugged in a weapon's damage against some of the enemies in this game, including some of the more powerful support weapons in the game, like the Spear and the Recoilless, they also fell just short of notable breakpoints. So let's take a look at the Spear, for example. Well, how many of you guys have shot a Spear at a Hulk and it ended up hitting it in the body and it just doesn't die? The Hulk body is 1,250 health, and the Spear deals 1,000 impact damage at Armor Pierce 7, and then it deals 200 splash damage at Armor Pierce 5. The Spear basically deals 1,200 damage total. Now, technically, there is that Armor Pierce 5 penalty, since that is matching the Hulk's body armor. The Spear is actually 150 damage short of killing a Hulk to the body. And given that you can't aim the Spear, you can't really make it hit the Hulk's eye, the rocket kind of just flies at it and hits any part of the enemy's body. And also given that the Spear only has 4 ammo in it, I feel that the Spear should be able to one-shot a Hulk no matter where you hit it, because a Hulk is not like some sort of rare super elite. It's honestly just a normal elite. It's almost as common as Charger. And this is sort of the problem that most people are having with the balance philosophy of the developers. Your Spear hits the body of the Hulk and it leaves it at 150 HP. So what can I do in this case? Okay, for example, let's throw an Eagle Strafing Run over towards that Hulk to finish it off. Or you know what? We can use some teamwork. My buddy can now just shoot that Hulk in the body with one railgun shot and finish it off. He doesn't even need to aim for the eye. So doesn't this sort of balancing encourage teamwork? Yeah, I guess it does. Teamwork to take down one Hulk. But what about the other 5 Hulks, 2 tanks, and a Factory Strider coming my way? Even if we're not talking about the highest difficulty in the game and we're talking where most of the players play, which I think is level 7,
there was like, a dead end. Come on,
there's more than one Hulk on your screen at any given moment. I would think that the teamwork comes in from dealing with the rest of the enemies on all of our screens. So now let's just mention that anti-tanks do 650 damage, but cannon turrets, which also includes annihilator tanks, those have 750 health, which means if you shoot them once with any anti-tank, it leaves them at 100 health left over, and you would need to use teamwork to finish them off. So even our strongest support weapons with the worst ammo economy suffer from time to kill being too high. I'm just gonna throw up the adjudicator on the screen, because if they gave it just 10 more damage, it would hit all of these breakpoints. And if you'd like to see the rest of the stuff in this Google Doc, just go ahead and click the link in the description and you can see all the different breakpoints in the game. So one other thing I wanted to talk about, which I received pushback on, was I said to remove Behemoth Chargers like somewhere near the top of this document. And I just want to make it very clear to you guys, when Behemoth Chargers came out, I posted 2 videos of how to kill them. I posted one day 1 just to help some players out because people were complaining about them. And then I did more in-depth testing and posted a day 2 video showing a massive amount of ways to kill Chargers. I am not complaining that Behemoth Chargers are going to kill. All I'm saying is that the second patch of this game, they nerfed Charger heads so that anti-tanks would one-shot them. Because in the first patch of this game, everybody was using the railgun for that exact reason. It was just the best gun for dealing with Chargers. none of the rocket launchers could one-shot them. And so they essentially
Why does my
reversed
parry
that
take so long
whenever
to
they
get out?
introduced behemoth chargers.
I parried
And
like
what
3
happened?
times and
The
didn't get.
flamethrower meta came about, and we all saw the flamethrower get nerfed. So I'm not complaining about behemoth chargers. It's not like they're that super hard to deal with a number of other weapons. I am just
the run back takes forever.
An enemy like behemoth chargers
piss.
messes up the breakpoints for anti-tank weapons, and it specifically hurts that class of weapons, and it overall hurts the meta. The entire point of me making this document is to say that if you bring a counter to an enemy, it should effectively deal with that enemy. Since anti-tanks are the most ammo-hungry weapons, I think that they should one-shot chargers, which is just a normal sort of elite enemy. And I would consider like Bile Titans and Factory Striders super elites. Those kinds of enemies, which are way more rare, are fine to take more ammo. With Impalers in the game, I don't know what to consider those, but for what it's worth, I do think anti-tanks should be one-shotting their legs, because even if they did, weapons like the grenade launcher and autocannon would be much better at just spamming their tentacles and killing them that way anyway. Now, another thing here I would like to point out is the difficulty in this game, because I think it's a much more nuanced conversation to have here. And I'd also like to talk about what actually makes a game difficult but fair, and what makes a game fun to play, but there's still a challenge to it. And in my opinion, making the guns suboptimal for killing the enemies that they feel like they're supposed to, and balancing the game that way and making the game difficult that way, is what led to the Helldivers in the situation that it's in now, where it feels like they're constantly nerfing things, where it feels like war bonds are coming out with slightly weak weapons. And this isn't even a video where I'm like mad about this stuff. I just think that I would rather see them approach difficulty with some of the new enemies they're adding. Let me give you an example. I think that Stalkers, Gunships, and Impalers are probably the enemies that make me feel challenged the most. Even the new Scout Striders, to be honest, because when I'm in combat and I'm just shooting
the run back
mobs,
is pretty
all of a
short.
sudden one of those enemies show up, and it just all makes me make a decision in my head. I kind of have to stop
Can I
what I'm
knock
doing
this
and deal
fucker
with those
down?
kinds of enemies. So I do think that that's one really good form of difficulty, is creating enemies that you have to deal with, rather than just making enemies feel bad to shoot your guns at. And I also think Odo has made multiple videos talking about teamwork in this game, and he has said that the only true teamwork in this game is the buddy bunker.
I can't.
And it's funny. He's honestly right, because the missions themselves can be done solo, and the missions themselves are somewhat easy. You just walk into an area, kill all the enemies, click a few buttons, spin a wheel, turn on the transformer. Sometimes you gotta carry the SSD across the map, and I do think that there's a lot of new sort of challenging missions that they should be looking to add rather than what we have now. But with that being said, I will go to some theory crafting, and we will do that in future videos. This video was just to summarize my balance document.
I hate the range
and
of those
explain
guys.
why the guns feel so bad to use.
The problem with one team, I've been playing this game a lot. I'm almost level 50 now.
Reset to level 1 every 6 weeks.
I'm gonna play this one season, and I'm done. Awful decision
Yep.
and ruin the game.
Yep.
So, at the end of the season, you lose all of your items.
In your house.
They're gone. And you have a creative mode environment between seasons.
Yep.
And they uninstalled the game because a roguelike MMO was weird for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think this is completely true.
I think that he speaks for classic MMOers everywhere
Yes.
with that statement.
I feel the same way.
That was Pirate Software, and I think that there's a lot of validity in that, because I think a lot of players that play this game are looking for that free-to-play online social experience the game's being sold as, which a lot of times is similar.
Well, it's also like if you're grinding a lot in the game and you know that within 6 weeks it's going to get deleted, if you start playing the game 3 weeks into the season, your content is going to get deleted in 3 weeks. It's like you'd have to play every day in order to finish it. It's so stupid.
So the only area that I would kind of disagree with that in is this isn't an MMO, It is trying to do something different. We do want the devs to experiment with different stuff. We just need to make sure that as they experiment with this other stuff, that they don't ruin the game for everyone as they Let us start.
I think that the game cannot have seasons and massive resets as frequently as every 6 weeks. That is insane. That's literally that's half the time of an ARPG season. Like maybe once a year. And like also here's another problem is that like for a new PoE season, think about how much different Metamorphosis League was than Delirium League, or how much different Calandra League was than Ritual League. The games are fundamentally very different. And if you have seasonal resets, you need to also have content that spices things up and changes the entire gameplay all the way through.
Okay, Star Run, awesome. So here is what I was talking about earlier. So the big thing I think
of course,
consider
of fucking course, fucking
that like I have spent, and my playstyle is completionist, which I think you have lots of people playing.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I have been streaming this. I've been playing now for 9 hours. Now, granted, 2 of those were in multiplayer recently, but if this is the first area, I still have side quests to do. I still have stuff to complete. It's going to take me another few hours.
That's so unnecessary that I fucking die to this shit.
Is going to be like probably a 60+ hour experience.
I haven't finished the map, but I'm like 80 or 90%.
That is aggravating as fuck,
so
man.
This is where I'm
like, what?
And this is also after playing to level 50 and doing
I rolled sideways, not into the pillar
I'm
3 times.
24 hours.
Giving the majority of your players 6 weeks to complete that is not very tenable.
Yeah.
I would...
Because again, it's people that aren't starting on the first week.
I need the lightning
all
weapon.
The people that are like, is it too late for me to start playing WoW? Everybody is going to think it's too late for me to start playing Once Human whenever the season is more than a week into rolling.
Only consider, instead of resetting it 6 weeks, coming up with a system that adds. So I think the idea is cool where every 6 weeks you guys are planning on like changing it, making it fresh, new content. I like that idea.
I think 6 weeks is too frequent. Like every single other seasonal game doesn't function like that. Lost Ark doesn't work that way. New World doesn't work that way. WoW doesn't work that way. Final Fantasy doesn't work that way. OSRS doesn't work that way. Diablo 4 doesn't work that way. Diablo 3 didn't work that way. PoE doesn't work that way. Epoch doesn't work that way. Like it's too fast. Like even if you want to go with the seasonal model is 3 to 4 months, not 6 weeks. That's half as much time, if not less than half as much time.
Is in the current status, you're destroying the old stuff and then putting the new stuff in. You need to find a way to keep the old stuff and put the new stuff in. Yeah. And that way you're making everyone happy. If you really want some kind of reset at 6 weeks, first of all, I would strongly suggest double.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, exactly.
Make it like 2-month minimum. I'm talking maybe
like every single other fucking game. Duh.
3 months. Like give parents, military, office workers, they need more time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if you play the game 3 times a week for 2 hours, that's 6 hours. 6 times 6 is 36. So if you min-max your free time, if you're one of those people, you will barely finish if you start at the beginning. That's crazy.
Not everyone is playing this game on release.
Exactly.
The bigger this game gets, the more people are going to discover it over the next few days.
Like,
do you really think a player is going to want to...
How can you dodge this, man?
And I'll give you actually a really good example of this.
You can. You just fucking can't.
So like Rob, the guy that actually runs Ironforge, he was talking to me like, so he was like, yeah, I started playing Diablo 4. He's like, do you play it? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, right? And he's playing Barbarian. And I'm talking to him about it, and I'm like explaining seasons to him, And like he's got a kid, he's got a fucking job, like he works out all the time, he's running other shit, and so he's doing this MMA stuff. So he's a really busy dude. And so he's like level 40 or 50 or something like that in Diablo, and he's loving it. He's having a blast. And then I tell him about seasons, and he's like, oh fuck, I've got to do all this over again. And I remember seeing him, he was stressed the fuck out. He was stressed out about this. He's like, fuck, you know, this is it. And like, that's what happens for, what do you call it? That's what happens for like an actual, like, just a guy that's playing the game casually. And that's it. You can't blame him. No, and he's right. The way he feels about it is the way that so many people feel about it.
It's going to be erased in
Eternal Realm? Yeah, he was playing on Eternal Realm. That's what he's doing. He didn't know about seasons, like he'd never played a game like that before.
I know that if I ever this game,
but like the problem, sorry, I just keep pausing. I'm so sorry. The problem is that the Eternal Land does not work in the same way that a legacy server or like, you know, like standard league works or like Eternal server works in Diablo 4. It's not comparable.
This I would have zero interest in playing. If I were to fire this up and be told that I honestly,
this is ridiculous. The range he has on this attack is just wrong.
Yeah, it makes me want to be like, I don't know.
And he plays video games for a living.
And I play video games for a living.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's so, what I said. Yeah, exactly.
The two big things I would consider is first of all,
and there's nothing that doesn't stagger me. Like, come on, man, that's just a joke.
Within the middle, and you don't want to punish them by not having enough time. And on top of that, there is definitely something to be said for when I complete these areas, when I complete this entire map, if that just gets taken away completely.
Well, this is exactly what fucking happened with Diablo 4. Like, I think that the Once Human devs, if they watch this video, guys, take a look at what happened with Diablo 4. Making people have to re-get every shrine, re-get every waypoint, do every single fucking side quest to get your renown up. Players hated that. Everybody hated it. Blizzard tried to hold it and make you do it again in Season 1. Everybody hated it. And if they did it again, I think everybody would have quit the game. I quit because of that? Yeah, exactly. It's tedious bullshit. And I think that, like, exploring the map and doing all the side quests is great. Once. That's it.
Then that reduces the personal accomplishment that I feel. If I know that everything I do here is going to be erased in 6 weeks,
you're building
that
a castle
makes me want to do it less.
Absolutely.
And I hate that feeling, and I know other people are feeling
so much ammo there.
So, again, I would strongly recommend, with whatever system you use, to be additive, not removing.
Yeah. Why is my resistance so low?
Yeah, Destiny? You're talking about the game where you can't go back and play stuff you paid for already? That Destiny?
I'll get comments about why I with the game. And the #1 comment, it is always sunsetting.
Yeah, it's one of the worst systems ever made that's public.
That's so stupid. I had no idea about that.
Private or public.
Well, there's no resistance to fall damage.
As like, oh look, it's fine. Yeah, no, that's one of the worst possible ways they can do it, and people have left that game because of that. So no, don't ever use them as an example of how to do things properly, in that regard at least. Because no, that was and is still to this day a huge problem. Tell that to PoE. Yeah. Okay, what Path of Exile?
PoE. That's what a stupid. What a fuck. I hope Co banned him. That person deserved to get banned. #1, PoE seasons are over twice as long. #2, each season mechanic completely changes the way the game is played. #3, there's a legacy server or standard server where everybody can play that functions the exact same as one of the, as one of the league servers, and the league mechanics are then ported over to the standard server after the league is over. Like they go, there's actually even a term for it. It's called the league going core. Right? Like Metamorphosis went core. Synthesis did not.
Does not really account for what we're doing here, because Path of Exile is a different kind of game that caters to different types of people, and it does not elicit the same things and the same
It's different in every single fucking way. Like maybe Co hasn't played as much PoE as I have, That fucking idiot. Fucking ban him. So dumb.
Gameplay feelings from its players. It's not,
base
it's not
building
like,
and
so
PoE?
saying, oh, Path of Exile does it, so
Ooh,
it's
you
fine
weren't here
here.
yesterday.
That does not fly. And for the record, the fact that you have to do the reset content every single time that PoE resets is one of the most contested things in that game. So pointing to that game and being like, it's okay, PoE does it, when that is one of the most criticized versions, one of the most criticized things in that game, is not really the best thing to do. When these guys do their 6-week reset, they're not just recycling the map, which is what PoE does. They're not just telling you need to repeat everything with new mechanics. The idea behind Once Human is once this season is done, the new season, from what I understand, is new content with a new story on a new map.
Bullshit. Bullshit, you can remake the game in 6 months. Bullshit. No. It's not gonna happen. Every 6 weeks? Yeah. No. What are we even talking about? Everybody knows that's not gonna happen.
So that is nothing like PoE at all. Actually, like it's a completely different thing. So, but again, that raises so many questions that we don't have answers to.
How do I get there?
And I know you're already.
I can see it actually. I
On the
can't.
top?
You want to know how I can't see it? I'll tell you. It's really simple.
Ah.
The closed beta and the live game are pretty much the same game. So if you think that the game 6 months ago that you played, like when did I first play Once Human? Ago, 9 days ago, 8 days ago, 6 months ago. So this is when I first started playing the game. It was 6 months ago. So 6 months ago, the game came out. It was the exact same map. It was the exact same story. It was the same everything. Everything was the fucking same, minus like some different lighting, etc. And some of the textures, admittedly, are better. So no, I'm not going to think that if you could not innovate and completely change, like we've only tested one version of this game. So, oh yeah, it took you over 6 months to beta test and create this one version of the game, but you're gonna be able to like recreate a new version of the game every 6 weeks after, like, what? That's insane. How could anybody believe that? That's crazy.
I'm sure in chat thinking of 1,000 questions you have. And I said,
yes,
I am too.
Is it even viable for them to keep creating enough new content every 6 weeks? Like what happens once they run out?
And here's another thing
He's
to consider.
completely right.
They're wanting to like create new scenarios every 6 weeks.
No.
They've been working on this one for years, and it's still missing animations.
Exactly.
The main character didn't even get voiced. It's
Yep.
still super buggy. It's laggy. A lot of side quests have zero voicing. The animations are buggy. The voice and lines don't line up.
He's right about everything.
So like, I have to say that
there is no proven success record with that. And in fact, there is only the opposite.
Absolutely no question that we have to be like, what is going to be the quality?
It's easy. There's 3 continents in the game. They'll be in rotation. So there's 3 continents in the game. And have we ever played the other 2 continents? No, we haven't. So let's use a little bit of thinking here. So the new continent is going to be totally different, the same level of quality, and also a totally new experience, even though no one has ever seen or beta tested either of those other 2 continents. Uh-huh. Right.
Of this super fast content that you're planning on putting out. So anyway, sorry, not to go on a tangent there, but yeah. And now I do want to be clear here. I do want to be clear. All these things that I'm working on right now is from the official message that they put on YouTube. And it is important to mention that not everything is getting Starcraft, Christian, Mark, Stellar, Sproutlets. gear blueprints, blueprint fragments, weapon accessories, mods, furniture formulas, cosmetics, actions, name cards, character customization data, building blueprints, main story, side story, and journey progress, and all of your friends. That is what will get moved to the new season. What's not going to get
There's
moved to the new
Placidius
season
X.
is every bit of work that I did on this map to get all those nice little purple boxes into these nice little green check marks. All of that will be removed, which means the giant list of stuff I did and spent the last 50 plus hours doing is going to disappear.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not a good feeling. Now you do have Eternal Land. That's good.
But it's like a private server. It's different.
But it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not.
So
I'm gonna die.
There's a whole lot that comes from like removing stuff. There's a reason that all MMOs just keep adding on and they don't remove areas unless they absolutely have to for a lore reason or something. Like there's a reason that in the past it's been done in a much more kind of additive format because that's the way that I think
I love this weapon.
these types of games. So anyway,
It's just as unfair as the enemies.
And I will again strongly suggest that you guys rethink this plan in its current format.
They've got to completely rethink it. The entire idea of seasons and resets, everyone that I know who plays this game and takes it seriously thinks the exact same thing I think. I don't know a single person that's seen this and been like, this looks good. This is great. Fucking hate seasons. I don't think seasons are bad. I just don't think this game is conducive to seasons. Aren't they very transparent about this? And then is it not up to you to get invested in this free-to-play game? Of course, right? But I'm giving my feedback. Yeah,
Is
this
there
is
another
my feedback
Grace?
for what their decisions are. Like, that's all. Obviously, like, I'm going to keep playing the game and finish this season out because I didn't finish all the content yet. But other than that, I'm probably just going to move on and do something else. Like, for example, here's the way I feel about it. I feel a lot better about investing time into First Descendant because that time isn't going to get deleted by a seasonal update. Like, yeah, they'll add in new Descendants, and those new Descendants will probably power creep the old ones. Like, that probably will happen just the same as, like, any character-made game. That's just the way it is. However, if I invest into getting my
Not another
to having
Crucible.
all of his prestige
okay.
points, that is an advantage that I can take forward indefinitely. And I can play new content regularly. Things are saying, yeah, and that's the way I said content is done right. Look, you stay on once human, they will. You basically have to refarm copper, iron, fucking bronze, the aluminum, tungsten. You've got to redo all of that. So it's like you basically sort of go, I quit. I mean, like, I might play a little bit today and like just get into what happened in Grand Blue Fantasy. I finished everything.
Come on, man!
Yeah, I finished everything.
How long am I staggered?
Refunded 50% of the max. At a certain point, you have to ask yourself the question, then why even do it at all? Like, what is the season really going to do? You did Lucilius 0? No, I did Lucilius Base. I know they added a couple of new things. I just haven't done them because I haven't played the game. But I killed Lucilius. The First Descendant's very good. Yeah, I can see yearly wipes. I don't think that they should do that. I think they should do a, like, I don't even know. Like, I'm trying to think about, like, what can even... I actually don't know. I feel like they need to just sit down and brainstorm about this. Seasons are currently an excuse to sell a battle pass, and like that's the problem, right? Is I think that a lot of games are built around they're built around its the game is built around its monetization. And I think this is a huge issue for a lot of games. So like Once Human, this game, like look how healthy this game is. This is one of the most healthy graphs that I've ever seen for a game. It's hitting like 200k people, like right now 187 for this day. This is so good. And this is the end of week 2.
That's like a Giants hunt.
Yeah, this isn't like day 3 of the game. It's week 2. It's insane. Yeah, it's a great game in a lot of ways. I just think they need to add in more ways for it to be fun.
I didn't switch back.
And add in new content and don't just like fucking reset people's progress, because I feel the exact same way Code does. I've over 150 hours in 2 weeks. I don't want to reset. Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, Cody, like I joined like your hive and like all that shit, and like, yeah, you guys have been cooking. All right, talk with the devs. Judging by clip views, this week, 12th of July. Yeah, he talked with them. Also, they reached out to me as well. I don't like talk about that, but they did. And I've actually been compiling some feedback and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, the developers, here's the thing, is the developers of this game, I am really, really like positive about Once Human. The reason why I'm really positive about it is because the developers are proactive with seeking solutions to problems. The game is not pay to win, and it plays well and it's fun. That's the reason. Yeah, they care. Like, I'm very positive about this game. We always talk about bad monetization. We love to talk about bad monetization. But you know what? Once Human has good monetization. And it's is it a free game? I don't even know if it is. But I think it is. Is it a Chinese game? Yeah, I think one of the developers, it's like NetEase or something like that, is a developer or the publisher of the game. Yeah, it's a free-to-play game. It's incredible. Well, only if you guys post video again. I completely agree with everything he said. So Logan Paul, you guys remember Crypto Zoo? Yeah. Logan Paul was actually suing CoffeeZilla. Yep, happened yesterday. People want me to look at it. I didn't get a chance to. Finally, we're gonna look at it. That's right. Here we go.
Logan Paul is suing me for Crypto Zoo only a year after he thanked me. Rather than pay back his victims fully, Logan would rather publicly humiliate himself in court by accusing me of defaming him. He's hired 5 lawyers to sue me, which he hopes will stop me from exposing him again. 3 hours before the trial, I had reached out to Logan Paul about
Fair
an
enough.
investigation into one of his companies, which has just been accused.
Fair enough.
There's another one? Oh my god! Holy shit!
Accused by the Canadian government of being a multi-layered fraud scandal. I obviously had questions, where I was able to get answers.
What just happened?
Lawyers showed up.
Did they get the boiled crab
We're
now?
talk about that. We're also going to go through this lawsuit. I'm going to tell you how to support us if you want, because while I didn't think I'd
Just
need help,
didn't show.
I was wrong. But before we get to my mistake, let's start with Logan's.
Okay.
This lawsuit is not about Logan Paul getting defamed. Instead, this is about him trying to dodge accountability, victims, and blame anyone but himself for his problems, especially me. This lawsuit says Logan Paul wants to hold me accountable for my actions. But what actions?
What do you
are those?
What are you talking about?
Accountable? It's ironic because his lawyers claim
for the immense harm that he has caused to Paul's reputation through the intentional and reckless dissemination of defamatory falsehoods. Well, then you have to prove that they're fake, right?
Logan has learned to believe in the importance of accountability.
Yeah.
But accountability for who? Currently, Logan's fighting the victims of Crypto Zoo in court, and now he's fighting the journalist who exposed him in the first place.
Naturally.
Personally, I believe Logan has learned nothing from this except how to silence people with the law.
Naturally.
But I won't be silenced because Logan's lawsuit makes no sense. We're going to go through it because from the beginning, there's problems. Logan's 5 lawyers tried to...
A self-described investigative journalist and internet detective with no actual journalism training. Or a private investigator's license to hold them accountable for maliciously, repeatedly publishing false statements. Okay, so what was the false statement, though? Where is it?
They paint me as someone who wanted money. They say I had a false and malicious narrative.
Knowing that...
But you know who doesn't believe that? You know who secretly praises me behind the scenes?
Logan Paul?
Journalist, YouTuber, crypto uncoverer guy named CoffeeZilla. Who's incredible, by the way. A very...
This is amazing. Bro, Logan Paul, I mean, you've got to admit, he's such a great villain, isn't he? He is such a great villain. Man, he really is, yeah. This is amazing.
Smart guy.
Of course.
Did a deep dive into the project that I attempted to make called Crypto Zoo.
Yeah. Right. Logan Paul. He's the biggest enemy of Logan Paul's defamation case. Who knew? Because defamation requires actual malice and a reckless disregard for the truth. But he just admitted on camera that I am thorough and good-hearted. Maybe that's why he wanted to remove that video from the internet, according to the YouTuber who released it.
The only issue that was ever communicated was remove this crypto stuff, remove this CryptoZoo stuff. If CryptoZoo is in there, CoffeeZilla is in there, I'm not going to promote it.
Yeah, remove that CryptoZoo stuff, that CoffeeZilla stuff. Doesn't look.
Why would you say
what?
if you wanted it removed? Why the fuck would
There's
you say
no
that?
way
You know
I did
being
all this
recorded.
for a shitty
Why
talisman.
would you even say? I don't understand.
There is no
The
way.
guy you're trying to sue.
Yes.
Maybe that's why Logan isn't even suing me for my original investigation at all.
What?
Despite most of this lawsuit being a ridiculous fanfic about how I took Logan out of context.
There's no fucking
was a
way.
victim, that I withheld text messages. Logan isn't suing me for any of the original investigation, though, because he knows he can't. Instead, at the end of the lawsuit, we
How do I
find
get
what
up
my
there?
defamation really is. I'm being sued for 2 videos and 1 tweet where I advocated for refunds for the victims. Yes,
How?
you heard me right. Logan Paul sued me after I tried to get his fans, the CryptoZoo investors, a full refund.
How?
Remember, there are 2 parts to CryptoZoo, the NFTs and the Zoo tokens, and Logan chose only to refund the NFTs, which is a minority of the losses. And I
Well, he basically, my understanding of this was that Logan Paul, like, people lost $10 million, and Logan Paul said, it's okay, I'm going to give you $1.5 million, and everybody was like, wow. Hey, he's not so bad, huh? How about that? Which, by the way, it works. I did this with a guild bank back in the Wrath of the Lich King. Everybody in the guild loved it. Yeah, this works really well. People are so dumb.
Over and over my opinion that it is disappointing.
You know, my friend and I, we sold the whole bank.
Not make things really right, and instead only pay back the small part
But that's
of
a
the
video
losses
game.
while fighting the rest of the victims in court. And it's those videos and tweet where I ask for refunds, which I'm being sued for. The first video in question is about Logan Paul not paying out refunds for 6 months. The second video was about Logan's partial refund, having a clause to make sure you couldn't sue him for the rest of your refund.
Well, I mean, if he's saying it, I mean...
And the tweet, I simply said, Logan's the type of guy to thank you for exposing his scam and blocking you to remind you to pay out.
God, man. The craziest thing about all of this is the fact that the first time Logan Paul had like a big pop-off was when he recruited 10 people in a suicide forest in Japan. It's like this dude has been a villain for so long, man. It's insane. Like, he was big already, no, but like that was the first big controversy, right? Because he was on Vine, like him and his brother were on Vine, and they were popping off on Vine, they were doing great. Vine shuts down, they go to YouTube, and oh yeah, remember London is my city?
Yeah, now he's the type of guy to then sue you. Now,
Yeah.
sure, Logan doesn't like it when I say things like Logan's victims or Logan's scam, but I have a question. If they're not Logan's victims, whose victims are they? Even Logan admits they are victims. He told me via text, just thought we had the same goal of helping victims instead of a divisive social media war.
I see. That, why would you... Like, this is the problem, is like, if Logan Paul had just exhibited a little bit more forethought, I feel like he'd be in such a better position. Like, you've put yourself in this position by saying this. Why did you let this happen? Like, why would you say this? There's no reason you needed to say this.
So he agrees people have been wronged by his game. You know, the thing that he said will earn you money.
It's a really fun game that makes you money.
So how are these not Logan's victims? He, of course, would say it's his business partner's fault.
Right.
But remember, Jake and Eddie have been out of the picture for years. And yet, CryptoZoo hasn't been released, despite Logan constantly promising it, and of course, also threatening to sue me.
We're going to handle this ourselves while we continue to build CryptoZoo, and I'll see you in court. By the time this comes out, it'll be done.
The funny thing about this is that if it wasn't for this lawsuit, Logan Paul would have been done with CryptoZoo. Like, I actually think it's stupid of Logan Paul to sue him. Because, like, all this is going to do is it's going to bring it up again. All you had to do was shut your fucking mouth and just move on, because the internet had moved on beyond CryptoZoo. Like, Logan Paul was 6 months away being able to meme about the fact that he scammed all these guys. Like, oh yeah, yeah, remember CryptoZoo? Yeah, that was crazy, huh? Yeah, it sure was, and that was it. Like, why were you doing this? You act like he has any sense, Logan. Well, the thing is, Logan Paul has done a number of things that I think are really smart, right? Like, I think that him being in wrestling, I think he's great in wrestling. And I think that he's also great with what he did with Prime. I think both of these things are great. So it's like, man, there's a reason later? I guess so. He's impulsive? He is.
The game's going to be made. You're going to have the opportunity to get your money back if you want, if you don't want to play the game. And I'm going to take care of the people who made me look like this was a scam perpetrated by me.
Right. Logan wants to sue me and release a finished CryptoZoo game, but he's only done one of those. Since Logan can't blame his partners, Jake and Eddie...
Maybe he needs the money from CoffeeZilla so he can finish the game.
For this,
that's what it is.
They've been out of the picture. You think he'll take accountability for not launching CryptoZoo?
No. Never.
This time, he blames the government. He says releasing CryptoZoo has too many regulatory hurdles. Maybe they should have thought of that before multi-millions of dollars.
They took the money. Yeah, they still took the money.
And now Logan would rather blame the government than take accountability. Or
this was not feasible for regulatory reasons that Paul had never previously been apprised. Not knowing something doesn't mean that, like, I mean, negligence or ignorance is not an excuse to take people's money and then hold on to it. I mean, that's not how it works. If I say, hey guys, I'm taking donations to buy a unicorn. Everybody donate $10 right now, and we're gonna buy a unicorn. And then I get $1 million. I get $1 million to buy a unicorn, and then I say, guys, it turns out that you can't buy unicorns. It's not real. I feel like if I didn't give people their money back, that'd be a fucking scam. It's not even a question.
Or, if you let him keep talking, Logan might rant about internet reporters having too much responsibility.
These internet journalists, internet investigative reporters have way too much responsibility on their hands that is being mismanaged and wielded in a really inappropriate way.
The worst part about what Logan Paul is saying is that there are elements of him being right. That's the worst thing about it. Is that in like 5% of circumstances, 10% of circumstances, he's right. But here's the problem. This isn't one of them. It's not one of them. What are we doing? Accessibility, accountability, like kryptonite? Yes. But not in his case, yes. The React channels aren't reporters? I guess so. Stop holding me accountable? I mean, CoffeeZilla can't really hold
I will
Logan
avenge
Paul
you
accountable.
later.
Nobody can hold Logan Paul accountable except the government, right? Like, that's it. Like, you make a video about somebody, it's not like somebody has to do anything about it.
Honestly funny to watch this guy whine about his problems, which you can barely hear over what sounds like a private jet.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another problem Logan has. Part of any defamation case is damages, and proving someone has harmed your reputation. But isn't Logan richer than ever with Prime?
Yep.
And did he have a reputation to harm?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta hand it to Logan Paul. He really popped off with that Prime shit. I never drank a single bottle of it. I never had it. Somebody said it tasted like syrup. I said, fuck that, I'm not gonna drink it. But like, yeah, no, that's impressive. Oh, like he did work with that. He did.
Lawsuit shows comments calling Logan a scammer, possibly
the sugar water.
He's been hurt
that's what I was
by
hoping
my
for.
videos, but you have to have a reputation to lose one. And by the time of my reporting in question, Logan Paul was already accused of participating in multiple crypto pump and dump schemes. That article...
I love this defense. CoffeeZilla, I couldn't destroy your reputation. You already destroyed your reputation. It was already shit before me. And the thing is, he's right. He is. He's like, yeah, no, it's not my fault everybody...
I can't get it off.
Does not reference my work. So Logan had already had a reputation as a scammer before my reputation. At least would you believe their allegations?
Yeah.
Lawsuits from the end. Logan knows that because behind the scenes, in clips, he didn't want to get out. He's saying, I'm thoroughly disheartened. But in public, he wants to sue me. Silently, costing money. Because what if you just don't understand? That's the one department where we both know he's got money. He might not. But he's got all the money and the lawyers.
Well, well, well.
And this is where I have to get to.
I skipped his second face.
Mistake in all of this. See, my defense against rich people like Logan Paul is media insurance. You know, for frivolous lawsuits.
Yeah.
So when I was sued, I immediately called my insurance company to file a claim, so I wouldn't have to pay for it. But they told me they're not going to pay. They're trying to get out of covering us, using lawyers and fine print. It's a long story that I will be explaining on my second channel because insurance underwriting is very boring. But suffice to say, I got Danished. I may have even gotten scammed. I'm not quite sure. For now, the bottom line is we have to fight Logan with our personal funds, which means...
That's interesting. I wonder why. I look forward to watching that.
I need to ask for your support.
Yeah.
If you want to help and are able to help, there are 2 ways to contribute.
By the way, I think all insurance is a scam. I do. I think it's all a scam.
To our fight against Logan Paul. 1, you can join our Patreon, which supports the channel. Or you can buy exclusive merch at CoffeeZilla.store.
I'll have to buy a shirt, man.
The CoffeeZilla Defense Drive.
Should I buy a shirt?
That's right. Life hands you lawsuits. You get rejected by your insurance.
Yeah.
Make merch. So here's the deal. These shirts will be available for pre-order for only the next 14 days. And 100% of profits we make from selling them will go to this lawsuit. Sure. If for some weird reason there's money left over, it will be dedicated to future legal costs for this channel. I just want to let you know they're available, and it's a cool way to support the lawsuit while also getting something in return. I didn't want to just set up a GoFundMe. So if you want to do that, just know pre-orders take a few weeks to get done because we make them after you order. And remember, you have 14 days. And you can get that at CoffeeZilla.
See, it's like, I don't even, like... In a way, like, Logan Paul is very entertaining. But you can't, like, that entertainment goes away when you're, like, suing each other. So it's like you're taking the content away from us by trying to sue CoffeeZilla. Like, I don't want to see this. This is ruining everything. Yeah, now actually, yeah, what are you doing? Like, you're probably not going to live stream the trial, so I'm out. Like, what's the fucking point? You're just, yeah, you're ruining everybody's fun.
I'll link that below. It's CoffeeZilla.store. All right, now we're going to
confirm the results.
Talk about the final part of this lawsuit. Why did Logan Paul sue me now? It's been over a year since
because you brought up the thing about his other company.
Thank you, CoffeeZilla. I am very grateful for your work and your investigation.
Bro, I remember this.
Thank you, bro.
It might seem strange, but I've got some fun facts for you that may or may not be related. Did you know 6 days before the lawsuit, I had featured Logan Paul in a teaser for a video? Did you know 21 hours before the lawsuit, I had texted Logan for comment? Did you know
Liquid Marketplace got accused of, as did 3 of the top executives, given that I showed for these allegations a year ago? I wanted to ask you a comment. Is it insider trading? I feel like that's about the length that it would need to be for insider trading. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Told him he had 24 hours to respond, and Logan sued me 3 hours before the deadline.
Nice.
Yep, that's right. Logan's lawyers then threatened me.
I'm not sure if that really is... I mean, man, that's a really big coincidence. The only thing is, like, I feel like doing that and retaining a legal team would probably take more time than that. But, like, dude, yeah, I don't know.
That lawsuit email that if I report on this new story, Logan might hold me accountable. And Logan's definition of
what did it say?
This new story.
Should you choose to proceed with any reporting on Liquid Marketplace, please know that Mr. Paul intends to hold you fully accountable. Okay, yeah, so he did. All right, that makes sense. I got it now.
Logan might hold me accountable.
Yeah.
Logan's definition of accountability seems to mean he'll sue me, which is why I believe this lawsuit was not designed to win, but to shut me up.
Yeah.
To threaten me, using Logan's wealth and a federal court system without anti-slap to send a message.
Yep.
Do not tell that story. Of course, I don't believe that's the only reason I was sued. Clearly, Logan wanted to
I
sue
don't
me.
think Logan Paul should, like, that's such a bad idea because, like, obviously people are gonna try to, like, nobody wants this to happen. This is crazy. They don't have CoffeeZilla shut down. Now, it's not about entertaining or content. It's serious, clearly, because CoffeeZilla is a real threat. Yeah. Whereas 3.9 million subscribers, he should have enough money for his own legal team and should not have to ask. Oh, CoffeeZilla, does he have 3.9 million? He has 3.7. But yeah, he's got a lot of people that watch. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, lawsuits are really expensive. I mean, like, I honestly, I've never been through a, like, real, like, actual big lawsuit like this. I bet it would probably be $1.5 million, probably, to get all this settled. I think probably, if I had to guess, from like what my understanding with, like, because we've, like, you know, we've retained legal firms and stuff like that before. I've had to do this before. So I think probably somewhere 500K. No, see, like, I would agree with you, but I'm not agreeing with that number because of how expansive Logan Paul's team is. Like, it's basically you're going to war with somebody who's trying to oppress you through litigation.
For a while, but I believe this new investigation played a role in pulling the trigger. Maybe Logan's team will deny this. Maybe they'll say it's coincidence they sued 3 hours before the deadline. Right. I announced a story about Logan's court, and maybe it's coincidence that Logan's lawyers threatened me with a news story while suing me.
The aim is still shit on this
I think
thing.
that there's a chance that one of these things is a coincidence, but it's unlikely that all of them are.
Hadn't discussed in 6 months, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Either way, when someone threatens new reporting in a lawsuit about old reporting, the effect is the same. So, what was this new story? Well, it's partly about a Canadian law enforcement investigation, and it's partly about something I told Logan to help him. Yes, believe it or not, I tried to help Logan Paul.
How do I get down there?
Go back to when CryptoZoo first got exposed. Logan said he was going to sue me, but got back.
I can't see this winning at all. Extra, I'm always trying to find $2 steak. Okay, give me a sec.
Clash. So he called me to apologize. He said he was wrong and wanted to make things right. I made it clear.
So he said he was wrong? This is crazy. Why would you say that you were wrong? Why would you do that? You should have never said you were wrong. How is this happening?
These are the absolute right move going forward. And to my surprise, he agreed. 100%, man. We're on the same page.
100%.
But we weren't. Logan now doesn't use the word refund. He calls this a buyback. But at the time,
Logan Paul could ask for a $10 million settlement and use the settlement money to pay off everyone getting good optics. The ultimate scam. So Logan Paul scams everybody. Somebody exposes him for scamming everybody. Logan Paul sues the person who exposes him, and then takes the money that he wins from the lawsuit from the person who exposed him for scamming to pay back the people who were scammed, to win back the audience and the public.
To scam them again.
That's so fucking stupid. And this is America. I want you guys to know that there is a non-zero chance of that happening. That's crazy. That is, yeah, that is supervillain status. Absolutely.
I need you to understand. I thought Logan was going to announce a full refund, so I began trying to help him. And dare I say, I was even nice to the guy. You can see that I tried to offer people who might be able to trace blockchain damages to refund people. And in the same spirit, I made Logan aware of potential problems at a different company he co-owned, called Liquid Marketplace.
On a platform that I co-founded called Liquid Marketplace. It
What's
allows
that?
co-ownership of top-tier assets. So instead of one person, me.
Oh, this isn't like, yeah, people do this with art already. Is this new? This is actually a good idea.
This card, we as a collective can co-own it together.
This was a fractionalized collectible platform where Logan sold things.
Yeah, no, this is a, I'm going to be honest. I think that's actually a really good idea for him to do that. It's a laundering front? Yeah, this is such a good idea.
Like roughly half of the $5 million.
It was a
Pokemon
scam?
cards.
Yeah, well, that's how you make the money.
The idea was you could buy tokens that represented partial ownership in rare collectibles.
Right.
That video, by the way, got 8 million views, and a lot of people bought into this platform. The problem was, I heard troubling stories about the company, and I was trying to verify if the claims were true. So I had gone to CEO Ryan Bahadori to ask him questions. He actually got a meeting. And I don't mean he refused meeting with me. I mean we would set up meetings and then he did not show up. Process up the load. Figured he's gonna make one mistake, right? Make them all right. Otherwise, he might come back to bite him. I mean, can you imagine the disaster if another one of Logan Paul's co-founded companies was discovered to have scammed his fans? Hypothetically.
I mean, that'd be a good start. I mean, yeah. I could easily see that happening. Absolutely. I don't even need to can you believe this? Yeah, I could believe it.
Hypothetically, that would be a very bad look. While he refunds CryptoZoo, Logan can push the CEO to talk, and I can figure out the truth.
Smart.
Maybe Logan can fix it if there's something wrong.
Reasonable.
You can see Logan responds to me. He says, gonna push Ryan to talk to him. Again, appreciate it, man. Now, I don't hear back from Ryan or Logan about this, so after a while, I follow up again.
See, that's the smart. Like, Logan Paul was responsive. That was smart. Because you tell somebody something that gets them, that's what you do, right? Is you tell them what they want to hear, then you just don't do it. See, maybe now he's finally getting smart.
Let me know if Ryan plans on talking.
Yeah.
A lot of nasty stories still out there about Liquid Marketplace, embezzlement, etc., and he's dodged meeting me already once. Now, obviously, the most shocking part of this is the word embezzlement. I need to make it clear. This is not an accusation. I am not accusing Logan Paul or Liquid.
He doesn't want to have it happen again. He's like, guys, listen, I don't want to fucking deal with this shit again. I'm not accusing him of this, but this is just the word, right? Disclaimer. Yep, all right.
Liquid Marketplace of wrongdoing. I brought it up in our texts because it is my job to investigate unverified claims. That's the whole point of me wanting to meet with the CEO, but I was stonewalled. Logan never replied, despite me reminding him again via email 5 months later
For 5
that
months.
I wanted to talk to Ryan about, quote, embezzlement and, quote, potential fraud. Once again, not accusing anyone of wrongdoing, I'm simply doing my job at the time to chase down rumors and unverified claims. Without concrete proof, I would have never talked about any of this.
Sure.
But on June 19th, 2024, things changed. Because the Ontario Securities Commission revealed a Liquid Marketplace investigation, where they accused Liquid Marketplace of being a multi-layered fraud, taking in
No way. You telling me he doing it again? No way, he doing it again. Oh no.
$2.7 million from the sale of these fractionalized collectibles. The platform allegedly did not do exactly what it promised. Some of the blockchain...
What did it do?
Allegedly,
The false and misleading representations exposed token purchasers to undisclosed risks, caused investor losses, and benefited LMP. Wow. Probably on transaction fees.
Exactly what it promised. Some of the blockchain tokens did not even mint. But even worse was the allegation that approximately $3 million was misappropriated from $10 million they raised of investor funds.
Round
This
rock.
is a very similar claim to the one I had tried to verify. Ryan Bahadori, the guy I tried to speak to, was accused of, quote, making hidden payments to shell corporations without any legitimate business purpose.
I'm going to tell you guys what I think happened. I bet they raised $10 million to investors, and the investors found out about this, that they were doing this, and they were the ones that probably went to the government. That's probably what happened. Is that they probably fucked up by taking money from actual investors. We pledged the money? No, yeah, these guys are not going to fuck around though. Like, absolutely not. This is like, you know, they gave them $10 million. Shouldn't have done it.
Shell corporations.
See, that's why you scam. Like, it's always better to scam a lot of people for a little money than a few people for a lot of money. Because if the people have a lot of money, that means they probably have a lot of resources and power and they know what they're doing. Way harder to do that. You want to take $1 from everybody, not $1 million from one person. Big mistake. Cryptseed, big mistake. Don't cancel it. Yeah.
As were 2 other of the founders. And Ryan was accused of, quote, using company credit cards to buy high-end fashion, expensive jewelry, and watches. Personal health and Rob services.
Why?
Only there was someone who could have investigated this sooner. Now, really important to say, Logan Paul is not accused by the OSC. Only 3 of his co-founders in his company. But given the history, I had after all, Logan posted a video about the marketplace still. And the reason many people cared about the marketplace was arguably Logan Paul. So, here were my questions. And as I read this, important to correct, I say Liquid Marketplace got accused of embezzlement. Technically, alleged misappropriation of funds. Those are similar, they're not the same. Correct that. But here's what I asked. Quote, did you take the action on hearing these allegations over a year ago? Did you get approached by the Ontario Securities Commission? And is it true that Liquid Marketplace lied about their claims of insurance, rates, and co-ownership at the Ontario Securities Commission? I gave him $20,000 bond
Exactly.
at 2:03 p.m. And I was promptly sued June 27th at 11:28.
No, I didn't get the rules.
See, old Logan Paul would have been like, yeah, I knew about them, and yeah, we tried to do something about it, but it wasn't true. New Logan Paul, after the Crypto Zoo, after he's already fucked this up before, this time he just sues them. Yeah, bro, he's learned from his fucking mistakes. Oh god, why didn't Logan just block the guy? Because then it would make him more aggro.
Roughly 3 hours to spare. Now, I want
Slow
to be clear.
learner, yep.
I don't know the answers to the questions I sent. Maybe Logan secretly whistleblew to the OSC when I first went to him. I don't know. That's why you ask questions as a reporter.
Yeah.
But now the story is not about the questions. It's about why I was sued immediately after asking.
Right.
And threatened if I reported about Liquid Marketplace.
I for sure didn't get any rules for
I mean, the
this.
threat definitely makes it seem
Holy
like it's
shit,
not a
man.
coincidence.
This is not how I
How
want
unlucky can you be?
Yeah.
Because there's still so much we don't know, and so much I can't say now for legal reasons.
That's
Maybe
crazy.
Logan's totally innocent. Maybe he surrounded himself with scumbags who defrauded his fans. Maybe.
Well, that's never happened before. I mean, you know, except for yeah. But besides that, right? Besides
I
that,
don't know.
yeah.
Because I never got the chance to find it. I tried to
Again?
investigate, but I was stonewalled and sued
Right.
when I asked the question. Make no mistake, though, this investigation is still ongoing, and you can reach me at the email below if you were affected. I will release my full investigation when it's appropriate, because even if Logan doesn't want to answer questions, it doesn't mean I have to stop asking him.
Right.
So, in summary, Logan's lawsuit is not about my original reporting into crypto. Even if you take this lawsuit on its own, without context, it's an argument over Logan not refunding victims in full. It's Logan insisting he's not to blame. It's all his business partner's fault. But I don't think that aligns with the publicly known facts. That's my opinion. For years,
Well, no. I mean, like, he's an owner of the company. Saying that he's responsible doesn't mean that the business owners aren't responsible. They're not mutually exclusive. That's not how it works.
Logan has control
obviously.
of crypto, yet the game is still not out. Logan is now blaming the government for that instead of himself. And he also blames me for losing his good reputation, but you can't lose something you never had. Not to mention...
Yeah?
Logan is arguably richer than ever, and he's on the record finding my reporting thorough and good-hearted.
Yeah.
So this defamation lawsuit feels frivolous even on the surface. But if you dig deeper, there's an even more compelling story, which I personally believe.
Okay, what is
Where the
it?
goal is to crush new investigations while taking revenge on old ones. In this version, Logan might not even care about winning. Legal battles are expensive.
Yeah.
And in the world of money, he's got one. So he can try to silence me by weaponizing the law. He can sue me for doing my job. He can sue me for asking questions. And he can sue me for asking for refunds.
Sure.
But it's going to backfire, because I think the review of Logan as a bully rather than someone who's sorry. Because Logan may be a master at convincing people to change, but I'm convinced the follow-through where things go wrong.
Well, I don't think that people really care. Like, and this is really what the problem is, right? Where I don't think that people really care about CryptoZoo that much. It's the same as like every other, people just forget. Like, that's why this is so surprising to me, because like, I feel like Logan Paul made off like a bandit. He did CryptoZoo, he got exposed for it. He said, thanks for exposing me. He made this video. Everybody, like, this was like a year ago. Nobody remembers that. Like, I don't understand, like, why would you do this? Why would you go and expose yourself in front of everybody? They would care if they lost money? Yeah. Don't care, don't feel bad for the victims either. No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, he got, like, you got away with it. Why are you, like, what is this? It's like this ego, yes. It's like, I remember this is gonna sound stupid. I remember in Django Unchained, when fucking Christoph Waltz shoots Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm like, you already won. Why would you do this? It's over, it's done. But you fucking ruined everything for no, fuck, man. Like, and I feel like that's what I can't, like, why do you do this? What's the point? Especially going after CoffeeZilla. You should have gone after a smaller person that couldn't fight back as much to set an example. Like, why would you go after CoffeeZilla? He's like the most well-known person. Like, it's just, yes. I couldn't resist. I know. Oh.
The actually changing part.
How would you do this?
There was a time where even I believed Logan was going to fully refund victims. That's why I was so nice to him and tried to help despite him threatening to sue me.
Yeah.
But when it came time to pay up, Logan chose a minority refund and to fight the rest of the victims in court who wanted their money.
Right.
And when I complained about that, Logan went from sorries and thank yous to lawyers and I'm suing you real quick.
Right.
The irony is, it was that same initial belief in Logan's capacity to change that also made me bring up Liquid Marketplace to help stop potential problems.
Well, I mean, like, that's a mistake. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't really believe that people change. I know this is going to sound like kind of a clear statement, but I don't really think that they change. I think that there are, like, maybe a little bit, there's a shift here and there. But, like, if somebody's going to do this once, they're going to do it again. Of course they will. Like, I've never been wrong with this kind of stuff. Like, every person that I know that's been, like, a thief or a liar, they've been a thief and a liar their entire life.
Does this count as stance? It's a stance.
They've always
It is a
done
stance.
it. They're always gonna do it. That's it.
And yet here we are. The company is now accused of being a multi-layered fraud by the CEO, who I tried to talk to multiple times, is alleged to have created money. This is despite me trying to talk to Logan directly many times as he asked.
Maybe we could have talked about this if you had reached out to me.
Right.
Personally. Not my manager, Jeff, who is not me, Steven.
Well, I did try to reach out personally, and I got sued and threatened a day later. That, I think, says a lot about Logan's supposed change and his belief in accountability. Maybe the person he really believes in accountability for is not himself, but me. Specifically, when I try to get accountability from him.
There you go.
If you want to support this lawsuit, the best way is CoffeeZilla.store. You have 14 days.
That is crazy.
Support on Patreon. Thank you for listening.
I'm waiting for the day that has no hidden path ahead and then there is one.
Scared? Well, here's the thing is that anybody who does any kind of like scam like that, they will eventually keep doing it until they get caught. Because one thing that I've learned about like people that do this stuff is that it's not even for a lot of them about the money. It's about the fact that they're doing it and it's working. It's like it's the love of the game, right? It's not just like, oh yeah, this is like, yeah, we're doing this for whatever reason. Yeah, it stops being about the money. It's about the thrill, right? It's about the ego thing, exactly. So Logan Paul has enough money to like, you know, retire easily, right? He's fucking rich. And so, what is he doing this for? He's doing it for the thrill because he can, bro. Because he fucking can. Bought the last video about the insurance. He got scammed out of 1 million. Jesus, man. He loves fucking people over. Prime is being sued. As I said, man, if you have an apple tree, what comes out of the apple tree? It's an apple. You're never gonna have a watermelon come out of that fucking tree. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, I know. Scamming is addictive for someone to use. Yeah, it's for brand image. I think this dude totally made a mistake. Logan Paul totally made a mistake. I want you guys a video. Give him some support. I think I'll buy a t-shirt, right? And can you trust Elon if he launches his crypto? You can't trust any crypto. You can't trust any of this stuff. There's no regulation for it. Like, you can never do that. Like, this is a big issue that a lot of people don't really seem to understand, is that the reason why regulation happens, every regulation is a direct result of a scam. Like, there was some scam that happened in the past, and then this happened, and they're like, okay, well, we can't let this happen anymore. Now we have a rule against it. Or some degree, yeah, some degree of like, think about some degree of scam in the robber barons days. That's the reason why this regulation probably exists. It's because people already did that.
It's because
so,
Florida man did it.
Yeah, I read that
1
7
point
times.
or another.
Yeah, so it feels like people have lost their minds lately. Yeah, of course it is. And does losing the side of the lawsuit have the burden to refund opposing sides' expenses? I don't really know. Like, I feel like really the accusation is going to be that he was scamming, right? Logan Paul didn't scam people because he gave them a refund, or that it wasn't a full refund. I think this is a lawsuit that it's like one of those things where like, have you guys ever been in a situation where you could come out on top of a conflict, but the effort and the time and the energy that it would take would just not be worth it? It's like, for example, like if you get in a fight with a cat, you can beat a cat. You can beat a cat in hand-to-hand combat.
Bro!
But you're gonna be scratched up, you're gonna have bite marks on you, and it's not gonna feel good. And that's why people don't get in fights with cats. It's one of the reasons. It's because it's not worth it. It's not because you can't win, it's because winning isn't worth it. And that's, I think, the reason why he's doing it. It's like a porcupine. Most animals can kill porcupines, right? Like a leopard or whatever, but killing a porcupine fucking hurts. And it's like, do I really want to do this? This is awful. This sucks. And so, yeah, I'll just go find something else. Yeah, a honey badger? Yeah, something like that, right? Morally, yes, exactly. And so that's the way that I see it. Why do I want to fight a cat now? I'm just saying. You see someone's trying to sue Bandai Namco? I did see that. I saw it. Yeah, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. That's a good way to say it, man. It absolutely is. So yeah, literally cost-based analysis at its finest. Exactly. So yeah, that's, I think, what Logan Paul is trying to do. Logan Paul dealing with the consequences of his own actions, impossible? No, Logan Paul dealing with the consequences of his own ego. All you had to do was stop talking about this. Stop talking about it. It was gone. Like, if CoffeeZilla had made another video about CryptoZoo recently, people would be like, oh wow, CryptoZoo again, haha, funny. Nobody would have cared. Like, you just did this. Yeah, why would you do it? I don't understand it at all. Yeah, Logan Paul is also getting sued. Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing. If you have an apple tree, apples come out of the apple tree. That's how it is every single time. So yeah. My head hurts thinking about Logan Paul mindset. I don't understand it at all. Some of this stuff is just, none of it makes sense to me. You'd rather go through all this and fire 5 lawyers rather than pay some people some money back as wild? Well, yeah, of course he would. Like, because it's going to cost less money. He can hire and retain all the lawyers for like $2 million, $1 million, but he's going to have to pay people back $8 million. I mean, I feel like it's pretty simple math there, right? I mean, what the fuck are we talking about? Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Because Zigo? Yeah, I guess so. I just can't believe that you would do that. Like, what a bad decision.
My name is Jason.
Oh, God.
My name is Jason.
Why is Dawn of Gurang such a good fucking spell, man?
we keep making games and that the next generation doesn't buy it.
Okay.
With that in mind, that community problem is
right.
I don't want to. Number one, I can't because I don't live in Europe. But number two, I wouldn't sign any for if I could. And I'm going to kind of go through this and try to explain the reasoning as to why that would be the case, without all of the internet hate machine that's grown up around it. So let's go into how this works and why this is an issue. First things first, what is an initiative? So an initiative is actually not law. It is something that you put together so you can put it up in front of representatives and they can start the conversation. The reason why I have to stop killing games is specifically it starts the wrong conversation. If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, making it as a single-player experience, and then taking away support and the reason why is specifically on this initiative. Following its own description, it says, this initiative calls to require publishers that sell or license video games to consumers in the European Union or related features and assets sold for video games they operate to leave said video games in a functional
Oh, now I'm
state.
here.
Specifically, the initiative seeks to prevent the remote disabling
Okay.
of video games by the publishers
Great, I
before
guess.
providing reasonable means to continue functioning of said video games without the involvement from the side of the publisher.
Okay.
This isn't always possible in all video games, and it doesn't call out the specific practice that this is supposedly trying to defeat. It is incredibly vague and will damage all live service games. How would you keep League of Legends in a functional, playable state? You'd have to read the architecture of the game.
Because that's what people do. Yeah, there's a lot of people who've done that. Like, people did that with WoW. Yeah, there's a lot of examples of that. Sure. No, it's definitely hard to do.
How many are there?
Yeah, I don't think the company
Holy
should have to
shit,
provide their
man.
source code. Like, they shouldn't have to give out their source code after they stop making the game. But if somebody wants to make a recreation of the game, that's okay. And they shouldn't be shut down. So, like, that's really my own perspective on this. Like, all the rest of this could be like, I could easily see it. Yeah. Wayfinder also did it really well. Yeah. We had an old patch. Exactly, yeah. So I think that's really, like, the fact that companies can shut down a private server after the company is no longer providing the game, I think that's really the problem. That's actually the issue, because like, if you have a game that's like for example, The Crew. This is like one of the recent contemporary examples. People were able to remake the game and continue providing support for the game, even after
That was a lot of enemies.
support for the game. And I think that's a good thing. That's a great thing. You know, even if you look at it from as abstract of a perspective as art preservation, it's art preservation. 100% this is good. He talks about that it's violating the law because of licensing. Oh yeah, no, but I disagree with the law. No, I don't think that the licensing and the copyright laws that we have are in the best interest of the consumer. I think that they give too much control and too much power to the individual companies. Like, for example, I don't think that Nintendo should be able to shut down I don't think they should be able to do that. You purchased the game, you bought the game, you spent your money on the game. You should have the autonomy to decide what you do with that game and how you present that game. Or what you, like, for example, like, you don't have to pay a, like, you don't have to ask, I don't know, like, whoever makes a hammer or a chainsaw, if you need to, like, you have to pay them a dividend. You have to pay them a commission if you build a house or you sell a house. So after you sell something to a person, I think that person should have pretty much complete autonomy to do what they want with it, unless it's creating market placement for the product at that time. Right? For example, private server. Wow, Slack, for example. So yeah, that's what I think. You buy something, you own it, and you also own the autonomy of how you want to use it. I don't see how like there's any benefit to the population, but that's not the case. You're not even a developer? No, I'm not. That's the point, right? But like no, I'm not. That you're exactly right. I'm a consumer. I gave them my money. And I want to be able to do what I want with what I bought with my money. Period. It's that simple.
Models. There's a server and there's a client, and all of the math, all of the game, everything happens on the server. The client just displays it. And the reason we want to do it that way is so that you can't teleport around and do a billion damage. You don't trust the client. You trust the server. The client just displays what it's told, right? So if we
New World did the opposite. Remember that?
wanted to re-architect this, we'd have to take all of that server logic, push it back out into the client, and somehow make that playable in a multiplayer-only video game. That doesn't make sense. So this isn't going to work.
Well, I think a lot of people have done that before. A lot of people have recreated servers of games.
Didn't I find Grace back there?
As often is actually because they would get shut down. I feel like we probably would already have a playable version of Bloodborne on PC right now with 60 FPS. We would probably have one at this very moment if Sony couldn't shut it down.
All games, why is it calling out all games? And it's really easy to say like, oh, you know, that'll get worked out down the line. But we're dealing with government here. If we're going to be putting up these types of ideas, specifically in front of government, we need to be calling out the right issues. Especially
this has always been, it seems like, the problem with this whole topic is that he doesn't agree with the way that it's stated inside of the initiative. But what he said originally, I think, is true, is that it is simply an initiative. And the initiative begins a conversation that is more technical about what the actual law should be. So I don't agree with the language in the initiative, absolutely. But I agree that it's a problem that should be solved.
If you don't have precedents. Because now you're going to be setting precedent on something that doesn't make any sense with people that may not understand the nuance of our industry, all in the name of saving games. I can't agree with that. So let's go into why this is happening. Right? So why did this start in the first place? What is these specific cases they've called out that are egregious? And they have one. It's The Crew. So action on The Crew. The video game The Crew, published by Ubisoft, was recently destroyed for all players and had a player base of at least 12 million people. Due to the game's size and France's strong consumer protection laws, this represents one of the best opportunities to hold a publisher accountable for this action. If we're successful in charges being pressed against Ubisoft, this can have a ripple effect on the video games industry to prevent publishers from destroying more games. First off, I don't like the idea in this that it has a player base of 12 million people. That is not how long.
Yeah, I think this is another thing that rubbed him the wrong way, is that I think that he didn't like the language that was used in the post about it, and he thought the language was problematic for, I think, a couple of different reasons. Yeah, he didn't, which is like, it's different, right? I mean, it's different.
Games work. There is a large number of people that buy the game, and that player base slowly dwindles off until nobody is playing it anymore.
Sure.
If there's any costs associated with keeping the game online, which this was an online video game, then eventually it costs more to keep it online than it does to keep running.
I like Rocks.
The cost outweighs the amount of income for it.
Right, and he's totally right about this, and I think everybody that's involved in this conversation would agree that we should not hold companies liable to continue providing service to a game when the game is no longer financially viable, because this would effectively kill every single live service game instantaneously, and they would never be able to be made again. Like, nobody, like, you can't do that. Yeah, it's simple. There's no way.
There are bad business practices that can occur in there. There are companies that will sell a online-only game as a single-player experience and kind of just put it into the TOS and hype. But not all companies do that. When they do, we should be calling it.
And also, like an example of this, I think probably the best parallel that we've had recently is Wayfinder. So Wayfinder was an MMO that then the publisher dropped. I forgot the name of the studio that's making it. But the publisher dropped the studio that was making it. The game really wasn't performing very well. And then the developers of the game came back and re-released it as a single-player game with multiplayer features, basically, right? And they totally changed everything about it. Airship? Yes. Digital Extremes. I think Digital Extremes was the publisher, and it was like Airship, something like that.
That specific company, not all companies.
That's
so
great.
Let's take a look at this and find out more about the Crew itself. And if we pull up their Wikipedia, we can see that the Crew was actually created in 2014, which, much to the hatred of all of us oldies on the internet, was 10 years ago. Oh. So this was an online-only racing video game developed by Ubisoft Ivory Tower and Ubisoft Reflections and published by Ubisoft. So all Ubisoft, right? With that in mind, it said it was a scaled-down recreation of the contiguous United States and included both role-playing and large-scale multiplayer elements. So it had a massive multiplayer component to it. It is an online-only, service-based game, and they shut it down 10 years later. On March 31st, 2024, Ubisoft shut down the game's servers, rendering the game unplayable, which is normal for live service games. The only thing that I can see in here that could be a problem is if they posted as not an online-only experience. But everything that I found online shows that the game was always marketed as online only. If you're going...
I don't think that specific types of marketing should remove expectations from a customer for certain degrees of ownership. So I see what he's saying, but I don't like the idea that because they say it's online only, that means that they can just, for whatever reason, take away access and you're not able to access what you pay for. I think that when you take a person's money for something, you have to incur certain degrees of accountability. And one of those degrees of accountability is that that person will be able to use what they've purchased in an ongoing way. And I also think, again, that's not even really a problem. Let me just go all the way back. All of this stuff is not really as relevant to me. I don't care about any of this. The only thing that I really care about is that the companies that are the companies that are going and they're selling these games, after they stop selling and providing a service for the game, somebody else can do it instead. I don't think that a company, whenever they are not providing that game, can shut down somebody else for providing the game. That is the only opinion that I really have about this. Everything else is up for debate. Yeah, sure, maybe this is true. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah, 100%. But you accept the TOS. I don't care about the TOS. The TOS isn't important to me. And the reason why I don't think that it's important is because everybody knows that no one really reads the TOS. I would argue that 99.9% of people do not read TOS. And I think the TOS is created in a way that makes it hard to read, right? It's using legal language. And a person can't read legal language. So, and also like a TOS should not overrule a customer's rights. So you shouldn't be able to just say like, oh yeah, well because the TOS says this, we can do this. There still are things that companies should not really be able to do. And also this isn't really the TOS in the circumstance that I'm talking about, it's copyright law. And I'm saying that like for a lot of things, for the purpose of art preservation, if the content is not being provided by the company, I think that it should be possible to provide it with a third party. The terms of service are all inside of the game that you're playing. Terms of service isn't enforceable by law? Yeah, the terms of service is not the law. That's different. There's no more service, there's no more terms of service. That's a much better argument than what I made. Yeah. Yeah, the TOS doesn't apply. You're not dealing with them anymore. Yeah, good point.
Going to be buying an online-only game, that means it can only run when it's online. And if the servers need to shut down...
Someone said contracts shouldn't exist. Of course contracts should exist. But contracts should exist in a way that's beneficial. And some types of contracts already are not allowed to exist. And I'm saying this isn't even part of that at all. It's after the contract is gone. It's not even with the company anymore.
Future, far in the future, it makes sense to me to be accessible. If it's online only, a single player experience that has online only functionality specifically just for shutdown games in the future, and the online only doesn't actually provide functionality, I'd agree with you. That's a shitty business practice. That's
Damn.
Really rare. And in the specific cases where it does happen, we should call out that, not just all games and not all live service games. Further, there's more context to this, too. Okay. The Crew itself came out in 2014, but it actually had a sequel that came out in 2018. And then it had another sequel that came out in 2023. And if we go to the Crew's Steam DB, which again is not going to be all of the player base for this, it's only going to show the ones who are playing it through Steam. It was on multiple platforms. We look at
there might be 3 people that were playing a total.
Here. It did start out with a sizable amount of community, and then it degraded. And it had a major drop-off in 2018, which is the same year that it launched a sequel. This is normal. When a sequel comes out, a lot of the player base, if the sequel doesn't suck, will move over to it. And then the server is effectively gone. You can't run a live service game on this few players. You can't.
Exactly. And a company shouldn't be expected to either. He's right.
Most of the time, especially not if there's anything else that goes into it. And if we go into that anything
and I've
else,
said this before about other games, is like if you want to see what the future of a game is, look at the Steam charts of the game. If there's a lot of people playing the game, then it's going to be fun. And if it's a big game and there's like double-digit number of people playing it, then there's a problem, and the game's going to die.
And we could see that there was license problems.
Yeah.
So on December 14th, 2023, Ubisoft delisted the crew and its expansions from digital platforms, suspended sales and microtransactions, and announced that the game's servers would shut
Where's
down.
the coffin?
So they gave them 3
Somebody brought up a good point in chat, and they said that they shouldn't be able to monetize the games because it's still not their IP. I really think I need to agree with you on that. I do. I think that you're right about that. Because if you're doing it for game preservation purposes, then you shouldn't be able to monetize it. So it's happened already? Yeah, but I feel like that, right? Yeah, 100%. They shouldn't be able to turn a profit. I think that it's okay to ask for donations, right? Like, that's fine. But to monetize it and to sell it, I think that's very problematic.
Usually I would say, hey, 6 months is probably a better deal, but if they're going to do 3 months, they're going to do 3 months. The only thing that I'd be interested outside of that is if there was a contractual obligation to do more than 3 months and they didn't follow it, if it was in the terms of service or not. Citing upcoming server infrastructure and licensing constraints. What were those licensing constraints? Well, it turns out that all of the cars in the game were licensed from the car companies. And a 10-year running game likely means that they licensed them for 10 years. And that means that it would likely be I understand that's speculation, but
I've got a crazy take on this. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. The entire idea of you need to license a car in order to use it like this, crazy.
This type of a deal many times in the industry while I've been working. So it's not unlikely. If you're going to have to renegotiate on a game that has so few players and is not turning a profit anymore, you're probably just going to forego the renegotiation. And if those servers are aging, you're not going to want to recreate that infrastructure. And there are some people that will say, well, just make it all single player. And I've explained that that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're making it all single player, you have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. When you already have sequels out in the game.
I don't think that's a good argument that it's developer time and money, because the people paid their money to play the game. And I think the developer does need to ensure that the person who paid their money gets the value for their money. So if you can't do something like that without creating a positive upside for the consumer, then maybe a game like that shouldn't really exist. You see what I'm saying? Like it just because it takes a lot of time or it's like extra work for the developer. Well, if it's too much work for you to make the game, make it to where people can play the game regularly on a regular basis after it's not being supported anymore. If you can't do that, then maybe the game shouldn't exist. It should calculate the cost ahead of time? Yeah, it should be calculated into the cost ahead of time. Exactly. Then don't make the game, yeah.
Has basically no players left anyway, it makes more sense to just move on. I don't find that to be a problem from the developer perspective, and I understand that people find that to be a problem from the player perspective.
Yeah.
These are two different
And this is only true in the case of a game going end of service. And this is only in a doomsday situation, literally, right? We're only talking about this with end of service games. I'm not talking about this with ongoing live service games.
Ideologies, and that's okay to have two different ideologies. I just don't agree with it because I understand the burden that puts if we raise that problem in the way that we are right now. If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely and not want to run them at all, then no one's going to run them.
Exactly.
So
he's right about that.
Final Fantasy 14, and even though I don't play anymore, League of Legends or any other live service game. He's
right.
You're talking everything. Even phone games, as funny as that is. A lot of people
there's no realistic way to have live service games if the company is required to upkeep.
Is there no grace?
It would be impossible. Not even the biggest studios would ever do it.
I really would like a grace down here.
Yeah, but nobody's arguing for that.
Pokemon Go. What about stuff like Monster Hunter now? What about any of them? And that's why I think it's
They are? Well, I'm not.
Vague. It needs to be specific about the business practices which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game and adding online functionality that is not necessary. otherwise known as Chris Barnes, the creator of this initiative, and one of the ones that's pushing it the most on them. I'm going to let him say exactly why he thinks that this will go through very easily and why it is important, and then I'm going to tell you why.
Becomes law in the EU? Yeah, it might be. Now, it's not a guarantee, but I think if we get the signatures, this passes. Why do I say that? Well, it's a few factors. Politicians like easy wins, and this doesn't require them to do much at all. And unless it's
that's great.
gambling or protecting children, politicians generally don't care about video games. So this isn't a big consequence to them or most of their constituency.
I'm going to stop it there for a moment. The assertion that politicians just like easy wins, so this legislation will go through, but the politicians don't care about a multi-billion-dollar global industry and that it doesn't matter to their constituencies is incredibly absurd to me. I don't think this is the right direction at all.
That's a great point of
I
stopping.
think it's incredibly damaging, and it makes our entire industry look bad.
I'm down
Both on
here.
the player side and
I
the
want to...
developer side. If we're going
Wait,
to
I walked
anything that
from
may
here.
eventually turn into legislation, it should be passing because
Okay.
it's the right thing to do for consumers and developers, and that there's some kind of middle ground, not just because it's
Yeah, see, this is what I thought. Because this is what I said originally.